My girlfriend said, "Your PTSD from the military is embarrassing. Get over it." I went silent. Then every veteran in my unit showed up to help me move out. Her apologizing to 15 decorated soldiers on her doorstep. Original post. I, 31 male, served 3 tours in Afghanistan with the 82nd Airborne. Got out 4 years ago. Been dealing with PTSD since, therapy twice a week, medication, the whole 9 yards. Not going to sugarcoat it. Some days are rough. Fireworks season is hell. Crowded spaces make me sweat. Sometimes I wake up thinking I'm still over there. My girlfriend Brittany, 29, and I have been together for 2 years, living together for 8 months. At first, she was understanding. Said all the right things about supporting veterans, thanked me for my service, the usual. But lately, that facade's been cracking. Last Tuesday was the breaking point. Had a rough night. Thunderstorm triggered something. Woke up in a panic around 3 a.m. Brittany found me in the living room, just sitting there trying to breathe through it. Jesus Christ, Jake again? This is getting ridiculous. Sorry, I'll go back to... No, you know what? I'm done pretending this is normal. You've been out for 4 years. 4 years. My ex was in the National Guard, and he's fine. You're just milking this for attention. I just stared at her. What? It's true. You embarrass me in public when you freak out over nothing. My friends think you're unstable. Hell, maybe you are. Real men don't fall apart over thunder. Brittany, you know what happened over there. I don't care what happened. Everyone has trauma. You don't see me crying about my parents' divorce 20 years later. Your PTSD is embarrassing. Get over it or get out. I didn't say anything. Just nodded, got up, and went back to bed. She thought she'd won. She had no idea what was coming. Update 1, 2 days later. Haven't said much to Brittany since Tuesday. She's been acting like everything's normal, probably thinking I'm finally manning up or whatever. Meanwhile, I've been busy. See, my old unit has a group chat. We check in on each other, share job opportunities, bust balls, the usual veteran stuff. Wednesday morning, I posted what Brittany said. The response was intense. Rodriguez, she said what? Thompson, brother, you need help moving? Williams, I got a truck. Kowalski, I got Thursday off. Martinez, disrespecting a combat vet's medical condition? Nah. Johnson, what's your address? Within 2 hours, 15 guys from various parts of my service had coordinated a full extraction operation. Half of them lived within a 3-hour drive. The others were planning to take time off work. My squad leader, Sergeant First Class Mitchell, retired, called me directly. Jake, that true what you posted? Yes, Sarge. You got a place to go? My brother said I can crash with him. Good. We'll be there Saturday, 0800. Full team. We're getting you out. Sarge, you don't have to. Son, did I stutter? You think we leave men behind? Old habits die hard. No, Sergeant. Damn right. And Jake, that woman disrespected every one of us who came back different. This isn't just about you anymore. Meanwhile, Brittany's been going about her life, making plans for the weekend. Even asked if I wanted to check out some new brunch place Sunday. Maybe, I said. She smiled, probably thinking she'd broken me. Saturday's going to be interesting. Update 2, Thursday evening. The universe has a sense of humor. Brittany's dad called me today. Jim's a good dude, Vietnam vet, Purple Heart recipient. We've always gotten along. Jake, my daughter, giving you trouble? Why do you ask? Because she called complaining that you've been moody and distant. That's not you. What did she do? I told him, word for word. The silence on the other end was deafening. She said that? My daughter said that to you? Yes, sir. Jesus Christ. Jake, I'm sorry. I raised her better than that. Her mother and we tried to. It's not your fault, Jim. Like hell it isn't. Listen, whatever you need to do, you do it. And Jake, I'll be having a conversation with my daughter about respect. My own father came back from Korea with shell shock, what they called PTSD back then. Took his own life when I was 15. This isn't acceptable. After we hung up, I actually felt bad for the storm coming Brittany's way. Then I remembered her words. Embarrassing, get over it, real men. Nah, she earned whatever's coming. Rodriguez texted the group chat with a photo. He'd made custom t-shirts. Operation Extract Jake, leave no vet behind. 15 shirts. These beautiful bastards really made uniforms for my breakup. Tomorrow I'm getting boxes and packing my stuff while Brittany's at work. She has no idea her Saturday morning is about to become legendary in the worst possible way. Update 3, Saturday D-Day. 0745. I'm dressed, bags packed, boxes labeled. Brittany's still asleep. She was out late last night with her friends, came home tipsy, tried to initiate sexy time. I pretended to be asleep. 0750. First vehicle arrives. Williams in his F-150, music off, engine quiet. Parks across the street. Then Rodriguez. Then Thompson with a U-Haul. By 0755, there are 8 vehicles on our street. 0800, the doorbell rings. Brittany stumbles out of the bedroom. Who the hell is here this early? I'll get it. I open the door. Sergeant Mitchell is standing there in his dress uniform. Full medals. Bronze Star, Purple Heart, combat ribbons, the works. Behind him, 14 other veterans. Half in dress uniforms, half in those custom shirts Rodriguez made. Morning, specialist. Mitchell says, loud enough for Brittany to hear. We're here for the extraction. Brittany appears behind me. What is this? Mitchell looks past me. Ma'am, we're here to help Jake move out. I'm Sergeant First Class Mitchell, retired. These are his brothers. The blood drains from her face as she processes what's happening. 15 veterans, several visibly scarred, some with prosthetics, all staring at her. Jake, what? You can't be serious. You said get over it or get out. I'm getting out. William steps forward. He's missing his left leg below the knee. Ma'am, we heard you think PTSD is embarrassing. Is my prosthetic embarrassing too? Rodriguez, burn scars covering half his face. How about me? Should I just get over IED explosions? Brittany's mouth opens and closes like a fish. Mitchell never breaks eye contact with her. Every man here served with honor. Every man here came back with wounds, visible or not. And every man here knows that Jake saved 3 lives in Hellman Province, including mine. The thunderstorm that triggers him? That was the night he earned his Bronze Star. The night he carried me 200 yards under fire after an RPG hit our position. I never told Brittany that story. Never told her about any of the medals. I didn't. She stammers. No, ma'am, you didn't. You didn't know because Jake doesn't brag. Heroes rarely do. But you should have known enough to show basic human respect. The men file in silently, efficiently. It's a well-oiled machine. 2 guys per room, 1 packing, 1 carrying. My gaming setup, clothes, books, kitchen stuff I bought. Everything mine is boxed and loaded in under an hour. Brittany tries to talk to me several times. The guys form a subtle barrier, keeping her at distance. Professional, but clear. Thompson finds my medals in the closet. I kept them in a box, never displayed them. He holds up the Bronze Star. Brittany, did you even know he had this? She shakes her head. How about his Purple Heart? The Army Commendation Medal? Did you know your embarrassing boyfriend saved lives? Silence. Update 4, Saturday afternoon. The move-out was done by 09:15. 15 veterans can clear an apartment fast. But they weren't done. As we're loading the last boxes, more cars start arriving. Wives, girlfriends, some kids. Martinez's wife, Sophia, a nurse at the VA, walks up to Brittany. I treat veterans with PTSD every day. You know what's actually embarrassing? People like you who stigmatize mental health. These men fought for your freedom to be an ignorant brat. Brittany's best friend, Ashley, shows up, probably called her. Takes one look at the scene and tries to defend her. You're all overreacting. She just said what everyone thinks. Dead silence. Mitchell steps forward. What everyone thinks. Ma'am, I lost half my unit in Afghanistan. Jackson here held his best friend while he bled out. Rodriguez was trapped in a burning vehicle for 40 minutes. You think asking for some understanding while processing that is weakness. Ashley retreats to her car. But the coup de grace comes when Jim, Brittany's dad, pulls up. He's wearing his Vietnam veteran cap, his Purple Heart pinned to his jacket. Dad, Brittany runs to him. Dad, they're being mean. Stop. His voice could freeze hell. Just stop. He walks past her, straight to me, and salutes. Old school, crisp. Specialist. I apologize for my daughter's behavior. It's conduct unbecoming of anyone, especially someone raised in a military family. He turns to address the group. Gentlemen, I'm ashamed. My daughter has disrespected not just Jake, but every one of you, myself, and everyone who's worn the uniform. There's no excuse. Brittany starts crying. Daddy, I didn't mean... You didn't mean what? To call his medical condition embarrassing? To tell him real men don't have PTSD? To minimize the sacrifice of better people than you'll ever be? The neighbors are all outside watching now. Brittany's reputation in this neighborhood is done. Rodriguez steps up to her. You know what? My wife has never served a day. Know what she does when I have a bad night? Holds me, makes coffee, remind me I'm home. That's what real women do. Update 5, Saturday night. I'm writing this from my brother's couch, still processing everything. After the trucks were loaded, Mitchell gathered everyone for one last thing. They formed up in 2 lines, leading from the apartment to the vehicles. Specialist Allen, he called out, formal as hell. Your unit is ready to move out. I walked between them while they saluted. Every single one. Brittany watched from the doorway, sobbing. Her dad stood apart, stone-faced. As I got in my car, Williams called out, Hey Brittany, this is what loyalty looks like. Take notes. The convoy pulled out together. 15 vehicles, hazard lights on, driving in formation. People stopped to watch. Some saluted when they saw the uniforms. My phone's been blowing up. Brittany, 32 texts. 18 calls everything from, I'm sorry, to you're overreacting, to this is abusive, to please come back. Her mom, Jake, I'm mortified. Jim told me everything. You deserve so much better. Her friends, mixed bag. Some calling me dramatic, others saying they never liked how she talked about me. My favorite was from Ashley. Using your military buddies to bully a woman? Pathetic. Rodriguez replied before I could. She'd posted it publicly, ma'am. We didn't bully anyone. We helped our brother leave a toxic situation. The only pathetic thing here is defending someone who mocks mental health. But here's the kicker, Brittany's job. She works for a defense contractor. Her boss is a retired Marine colonel. Someone, definitely not me, forwarded him screenshots of her texts about PTSD being embarrassing, with a note about concern this reflects company values. She's got a meeting Monday morning. Update 6, Monday. Jim called me this morning. Jake, wanted to give you a heads up. Brittany lost her job. What? The colonel at her company took those screenshots very personally. Apparently his son has PTSD from Iraq. She was terminated for conduct incompatible with company values. I actually felt bad for a second. Then Jim continued. She's also been disinvited from the family Thanksgiving. Her mother and I agree. We can't have someone at our table who disrespects veterans like that. Not when we have you, my father's memory, and our own service to consider. Jim, that seems harsh. Son, harsh was what she said to you. This is consequences. Meanwhile, the unit group chat has evolved. They've started a fund. Everyone throwing in to help me get my own place. No roommates needed. In 2 days, they've raised $8,000. These guys who don't have much are giving what they can because that's what we do. Mitchell called. Jake, the money's not charity. It's an investment in a brother who'd do the same for any of us. You saved my life in Afghanistan. This doesn't even start to balance those scales. Rodriguez's wife, Sophia, reached out too. She runs a support group for partners of veterans with PTSD. Jake, I wanted you to know, we use your story as an example now of what not to accept. 3 women have left relationships since Saturday after realizing they deserve better. The apartment complex where Brittany lives has also been interesting. Apparently, the story spread. She's now known as the girl who insulted veterans. Her neighbor, a Gold Star mother, won't even look at her. Final update, 2 weeks later. I'm moved into my new place. Small 1-bedroom, but it's mine. The guys helped me set it up, even bought me a couch. William's wife made curtains. Rodriguez installed a security system. For the bad nights, he said. So you feel safe. Brittany has tried everything. Showing up at my brother's house, he called the cops. Having her friends message me, blocked them all. Writing a long Facebook post about mental health awareness, got roasted in the comments. Trying to get her job back by claiming discrimination, Colonel told her to pound sand. Sending flowers to my new place. Donated them to the VA hospital. The last text she sent before I changed my number. You destroyed my life over one comment. Rodriguez saw it before I blocked her. His response. No, you destroyed your life with repeated comments disparaging military veterans and mental health. Jake just refused to be your victim. My therapist says I'm processing everything well. You established boundaries and enforced them with support from your community. That's healthy. The best part? I'm actually doing better. Turns out, living with someone who minimizes your trauma is worse than the trauma itself sometimes. My night terrors have decreased. I'm sleeping better. Who knew that removing toxic people could be therapeutic? The unit still checks in daily. We got a barbecue planned for next month, partners and families invited. Sophia is introducing me to her friend Anna, a teacher who volunteers at the Wounded Warrior Project. She actually understands, Sophia promised. Jim still calls weekly. Last conversation ended with, Jake, you're still family to us. Brittany's behavior doesn't change that. My father would have been proud to know you. Looking back, Brittany did me a favor. She showed me who she really was. And more importantly, she reminded me, who has my six? To anyone dealing with similar disrespect, you don't have to tolerate it. Whether it's PTSD, depression, anxiety, or any other battle, your struggles are valid. Your pain is real. And anyone who tells you otherwise doesn't deserve space in your life. And to my unit, if you're reading this, Rangers lead the way. All the way. Edit. For those asking, yes, this is real. No, I won't share Brittany's social media. She's faced enough consequences. Let her rebuild and hopefully learn. Edit 2. The VA has resources if you're struggling. Don't suffer alone. And if someone dismisses your pain, remember, that's about their character, not your worth. Edit 3. Brittany's dad Jim wanted me to add this. To any veterans reading, your service mattered. Your sacrifice mattered. And your struggles matter. Don't let anyone, especially not my daughter, tell you otherwise. She said, my ex is coming to our party. If you're uncomfortable, you can leave. I replied, understood. Then I canceled the party and emailed all our friends, sorry, canceled. She wanted to host her ex alone. The call she got. Original post. I 32 male have been with Fiona 30 for 4 years, and we've lived together in my condo for the last 2. I own the place. She moved in and pays a small, agreed-upon amount for utilities and groceries. It's been comfortable, stable, or so I thought. We were planning our big annual summer send-off barbecue for this coming Saturday. This is our big joint event. I handle the grill, the meat order, and the booze. She curates the guest list, the side dishes, and the decor. We're expecting about 50 people. On Wednesday night, I was on the couch finalizing the shopping list for the liquor store when she dropped it. Fiona, oh, just a heads up, I invited Dominic. I stopped writing. Wait, what? Dominic? Your ex, Dominic? The guy you dated for 5 years? The one you said was so toxic you had to block him on everything. She waved her hand, not looking up from her phone. Oh, he's totally different now. He reached out a few weeks ago, apologized for everything. He's really matured. We're just friends. I ran into him last week and told him to come. I stared at her. You ran into him? And you invited him? To our party? At my home? And you're telling me 3 days before? She finally looked up, annoyance flashing in her eyes. Liam, don't make this a thing. It's a party. It's our home, and I can invite my friends. It's my condo, Fiona. You know I'm not comfortable with him. I've heard nothing but horror stories about this guy. I don't want him here. This was it. The moment the mask slipped, she let out this long, suffering sigh. God, you're being so insecure. It's unattractive. He's just a friend. I already told him he could come, and I'm not uninviting him just because you're feeling paranoid. She stood up, gathering her things. Honestly, if you're going to be that uncomfortable, you can just leave for the night. Go to a bar. See a movie. It's just a few hours. I'm not going to let your jealousy ruin this. She just told me to leave my own home so she could entertain her ex-boyfriend. I looked at her, really looked at her. The casual dismissal, the utter lack of respect, and all the little red flags from the past few months suddenly clicked into place. I put the pen down. Understood, I said quietly. She smiled, relieved. Good. Glad you're not going to be a baby about it. I'm heading to bed. I waited until I heard the bedroom door click shut. Then I opened my laptop, pulled up the guest list and the email invitations we'd sent out from my account. I took a deep breath and I started typing. Subject: canceled. Summer send-off barbecue. Body: hi everyone. I'm so sorry to do this at the last minute, but I have to cancel this Saturday's barbecue. Fiona has informed me she invited her ex-boyfriend, Dominic, and would prefer to host him alone. She suggested that if I was uncomfortable, I should leave my own home for the evening to make them more comfortable. Obviously, this isn't the party we all planned. I'm not willing to host an event under those circumstances, and I'm certainly not leaving my home. Sorry again for canceling. I hope to catch you all soon under much better circumstances. Best, Liam. I hit send to all 50 people. Then I went into the guest room and locked the door. I set my alarm for 6 a.m. I woke up to the sound of her phone vibrating on the nightstand in the other room. It wasn't just vibrating. It sounded like an angry hornet's nest. Buzz, 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 buzz. A few minutes later, my bedroom door handle rattled. Liam, are you in there? Unlock the door. I heard her stomp back to the bedroom, then back. The rattling was more frantic. Liam, what did you do? My phone is exploding. What did you send? I got up, calmly made myself a coffee in the guest room's small kitchenette. It's more of a suite, thankfully. She was screaming through the door now. You humiliated me. You psycho. You're going to regret this. Open the door. The call she got? Oh, they were beautiful. I could hear her muffled voice. No, that's not what happened. He's twisting my words. Maya, you know I wouldn't. He's the one being controlling. He canceled it, not me. I just sipped my coffee. She wanted me to leave. I'm just getting a head start on packing. Update 1. Thank you all for the comments and support. It's been validating. I'm not the crazy one. This past week has been, well, it's been hell. But the fog is clearing. So, after about an hour of her screaming and her phone blowing up, I finally opened the guest room door. She was standing there, hair a mess, face red and puffy from crying, phone clutched in her hand. You, she sputtered. You humiliated me. To everyone. My mom called me. Maya thinks I'm some kind of cheater. You need to fix this. Now, send another email. Tell them you misunderstood. Tell them you were jealous and overreacted. Apologize. I just looked at her. No. What do you mean, no? I mean, I'm not sending another email. I'm not apologizing. I sent the truth. Did you, or did you not, tell me to leave my own home so you could host your ex? That's not what I meant, she shrieked. You twisted it. You're supposed to trust me. This is emotional abuse. Kicking me out of my condo for another man is what? Exactly? A welcoming gift. She just stared at me, dumbfounded that I wasn't backing down. Before she could wind up for another round, her sister, Celeste, let herself into the condo. She apparently has a key, which is news to me. Celeste didn't even look at me. She just rushed to Fiona. Oh my God, Fi, are you okay? I saw the email. He's insane. What a psycho. She finally turned to me. You need to apologize to her. You've ruined her reputation. You know how sensitive she is. This is a complete overreaction. You're a controlling monster. I'm controlling? For not wanting to be kicked out of my own house. She was just flustered. Celeste shot back. She didn't mean it. You're supposed to love her. You're just trying to punish her. You're probably going to kick her out, aren't you? Well, you can't. She has rights. This is her home, too. Fiona, seeing her sister backing her up, found her strength. She's right. This is my home. You can't just kick me out. And after you just did this to me, I'm not going anywhere. Then came the first real dirty trick. In fact, Fiona said, crossing her arms, I don't think I should have to pay for utilities this month. Or groceries. Not after the emotional distress you've caused me. You can cover it. It's the least you can do after humiliating me. The entitlement was staggering. She wanted me to pay for her life while she figured out how to spin this. I just nodded. You're right. This has become a legal situation. You're right. This is your home. Legally, you're a tenant at will. So, we'll handle this legally. I went to my desk, opened my laptop, and found the standard, state-approved 30-day notice to vacate template. I filled it out, printed 2 copies, and walked back to the living room where she and Celeste were whispering. I handed 1 copy to Fiona. What's this? She sneered. That's your formal, legal 30-day notice to vacate. You have until the 20th of next month to be out with all your belongings. Our verbal tenancy agreement is terminated. Fiona and Celeste just stared at the paper. You're evicting me, Fiona whispered, the color draining from her face. I'm terminating your tenancy, as is my right as the homeowner. Over a party? She screamed. No, over you telling me to leave my home for another man. Over you inviting him behind my back. Over you proving, in no uncertain terms, that you have zero respect for me, this relationship, or my home. The party just exposed it all. Celeste started yelling. You'll be hearing from our lawyer. This is retaliation. This is illegal. I look forward to it, I said. Please have him contact me directly. Now, I'd like you to leave, Celeste. You're trespassing. Celeste looked like she was going to swing at me, but I just held my ground. She grabbed Fiona, and they stormed out, slamming the door. I immediately double-bolted it and put the chain on. Then my phone buzzed. An unknown number. Hey man, this is Dominic. Listen, I don't know what your problem is, but you need to back off. Fiona is really upset. You sent some crazy email, and now you're kicking her out? Seriously uncool, dude. You're overreacting. She just said we were all going to hang out. I typed back one response. She told me to leave my home so you two could be alone. Ask her about that. Then lose my number. He didn't reply. I spent the rest of the day in a daze. I started boxing up her things from the living room. Knickknacks, blankets, the weird sculpture she bought. I piled them by the front door. This is going to be the longest 30 days of my life. Update 2. This is not a 30-day war. This is a siege. Living with someone who is actively trying to destroy you from the inside is an education. I have 18 days left until the notice is up. Fiona and Celeste must have realized they couldn't just bully me because they moved on to Dirty Tricks, the sequel. Dirty Trick 1, The Petty War. Fiona is making my life a living hell. It's almost impressive in its childishness. She accidentally used all the hot water every morning before I had to get ready for work. She forgot to buy groceries and then ate the specific food she knows I'm meal prep for the week. She'll come home at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, turn on the living room TV to full volume, and fall asleep on the couch. She's trying to make me leave. Dirty Trick 2, The Legal Scare. I was served. Well, served. A guy in a messy suit handed me a letter from a law office I've only ever seen advertised on bus benches. It was a cease and desist, full of typos. It claimed I was engaging in a campaign of harassment by illegally evicting her and libeling her to our mutual friends. It said she was a common-law spouse, which isn't a thing in our state, and was demanding 50% of my condo's equity and $10,000 for emotional distress. It also demanded I immediately cease and desist packing her belongings, as I was tampering with her property. Dirty Trick 3, The Property Grab. This was the boldest. I have a large framed art print in my office. It's a signed, limited edition piece by an artist I've followed for years. It's my favorite thing I own. I came home from work to find a bright pink sticky note on it. The note said, mine, anniversary gift 2021. Do not pack. She is lying. I bought that print in 2017, a full year before I even met her. She's just claiming it. She's banking on the fact that I won't have the proof. I was shaking with anger, but I'm not playing her game. I'm playing mine. My response, the methodical takedown. First, I hire my own lawyer. A good one. A shark. The retainer fee hurt, but peace of mind is priceless. He laughed out loud at the common law letter. He said the libel claim is a joke because truth is an absolute defense, and her own text to me, which I saved, proves her intent. Second, per his advice, I bought 2 small, very visible security cameras and placed them in the living room and the kitchen. Fiona lost her mind. You're spying on me. That's illegal. I'm calling the cops. Go ahead, I said, plugging the last one in. It's my home. I'm documenting my property and my own safety. Given your sister's unannounced entries and your lawyer's false claims, I'm protecting myself. If you don't like being on camera, you're welcome to leave 18 days early. The late-night TV concerts have stopped. Third, I dealt with the art print. I went into my attic dug through my old file boxes, and found it. The original gallery receipt from 2017. Framed, dated, with my name and credit card info on it. I taped a copy of it to the wall right next to her sticky note. She hasn't said a word about it since. The investigation, the snap moment. Her lawyer's letter got me thinking. If she's this bold, she's hiding more. I didn't have to hack her phone. I didn't have to hire a PI. I just had to look at the bills. I manage our shared toll pass account. It's linked to my credit card. I was logging in to remove her transponder before the next billing cycle. I decided to check the history. For the last 8 months, every Tuesday and Thursday night, her car, same toll plaza, same exit, 9:15 p.m. Same plaza, same exit, in reverse, 1:30 a.m. Her late-night yoga class with Celeste. I Googled the exit. It's a residential area across the bridge. I Googled Dominic's name. His apartment complex is right off that exit. This wasn't a reconnection. This wasn't her running into him. This has been going on for almost a year. The party, my God. The party was her trying to introduce her two lives. She was trying to get me and her friends to like him, to normalize him, so she could eventually trade up or down, as it seems, without looking like the villain. She didn't just tell me to leave for an evening. She was trying to get me to vacate my own life. I waited for her to come home last night. She was back in Ice Queen mode, ignoring me. How was yoga? I asked, not looking up from my laptop. She stopped. What? Yoga? With Celeste. You went, right? It's Thursday. Yes, she said, her voice clipped. What? I turned my laptop around. On the screen was the toll pass statement. 8 months of it. Just admiring your dedication. Not a long drive, all the way across the bridge. You must be exhausted, especially since Celeste's building is downtown, in the opposite direction. I zoomed in on the map, right next to the list of charges. The pin was on Dominic's apartment complex. But I guess it's a convenient location for yoga. She didn't speak. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. Her face just crumpled. It was the look of someone who had just been checkmated. This whole thing, I said, the party, he's matured, all of it. It was a lie. You're not just entitled, Fiona. You're a cheat. And a terrible one. I closed the laptop. 18 days, I said, or you can leave now. She went into the bedroom and locked the door. My lawyer has already sent a response to hers, complete with the toll records and the 2017 art print receipt. Her lawyer's emotional distress claim seems to have evaporated. Now we wait for move-out day. Final update. It's over. She's gone. The 30-day notice expired yesterday at noon. I came home from work at 1 p.m., and she was still there, sitting on the couch, watching TV, surrounded by her boxes, as if it were just another Tuesday. Fiona, I said, it's 1 p.m. The notice is up. You need to leave. She looked at me, a smirk on her face. No, I don't think I will. My lawyer said this is all kinds of illegal. You're not getting rid of me that easy. We're going to court. You'll have to pay to evict me. She thought she had one last card to play, that I'd be scared of a long, drawn-out eviction process. Okay, I said. I pulled out my phone. I dialed the non-emergency police line. Hello, I'd like to request a civil standby to remove a trespasser. I have a former tenant at will who has failed to vacate after a legal 30-day notice has expired. Fiona's smirk vanished. You're calling the cops? You're trespassing, Fiona. 2 officers showed up about 20 minutes later, a man and a woman. And just as I predicted, the moment they knocked, Fiona burst into tears. Officers, thank God, she cried, rushing to the door. My fiancé is throwing me out. I have nowhere to go. He's been abusive. He's filming me. He's trying to steal my things. The female officer looked at me with pure disgust. Sir, what is going on here? You can't just throw her out on the street. This is the bias I was expecting. They see a crying woman and a calm man, and they assume he's the villain. But I was prepared. I wasn't a Samantha Downing narrator. I was just a guy who was tired of being played. I had a folder ready. Officers, I understand completely, I said calmly. She's not my fiancée. We're not married. She was a tenant at will, paying a small amount for utilities. Here is the deed to my condo, in my name only, purchased in 2017. Here is my driver's license. matching this address. I handed them the papers. Here, I continued, is a copy of the state tenancy at will statute. Here is a copy of the legal 30-day notice to vacate. And here is a notarized affidavit of service, proving she received this notice 30 days ago. Her tenancy officially ended at 12 p.m. today. She is trespassing. The male officer took the folder and started reading. The female officer's expression slowly changed from hostility to professional neutrality. Ma'am, the male officer said to Fiona, this all appears to be in order. This is a civil matter, and your legal tenancy here is over. You have to leave. But my property, she shrieked, pointing at the art print. He's stealing it. That's mine. He can't keep it. Officers, I said, I have a receipt for that print right here. I pulled the 2017 receipt from the folder. I purchased it a year before I met her. She is welcome to sue me for it in small claims court, but she is not removing it from my home. The female officer sighed. Ma'am, we cannot get involved in property disputes. If it's disputed, you can't take it. You'll have to handle that in court. Right now, you need to gather your undisputed belongings and vacate the premises. Fiona's face was a mask of pure, unadulterated venom. The tears were gone. Fine, she spat. Her sister Celeste was waiting outside in a rented van. It took them 4 trips to get all the boxes. The whole time, Celeste was muttering, asshole, and you'll get yours under her breath. As Fiona walked out for the last time, she stopped in the doorway. You're a monster, Liam. A cold, heartless monster. I hope you're happy, all alone in your empty condo. I will be, I said, and I shut the door. I locked the deadbolt. I locked the chain. And I leaned against the door, my heart hammering. I'm not going to lie. I felt shaky, not with regret, but with adrenaline. It's been a week. I got one last letter from her bus bench lawyer demanding $5,000 for the value of the art print. My lawyer sent back a certified letter with a receipt and a note threatening a countersuit for frivolous litigation and legal fees. We haven't heard back. The gossip? Oh, it's been rich. Maya, her former best friend, who is now firmly my friend, gave me the rundown. Fiona did move in with Dominic into his tiny one-bedroom apartment that he, wait for it, shares with 2 other roommates. The matured Dominic apparently doesn't have a job. He's a crypto investor who trades all day, meaning he's broke. Fiona, who was used to my condo and my salary subsidizing her life, is apparently miserable. She has to pay for everything, and she's discovering that Dominic's thrill doesn't pay for nice dinners. Celeste isn't speaking to her, furious that Fiona lied to her for months about the affair and dragged her into the middle of this mess, making her look like an idiot too. As for me, I'm not happy. This whole thing was draining, expensive, and deeply sad. It cost me thousands in lawyer fees and 4 years of my life. I had to learn in real time how to be a cold, calculating person just to protect myself. But I'm satisfied. I had a deep cleaning crew come in and scrub the entire condo. I changed the locks again, just in case. The air feels lighter. I took the original party email list and sent one final follow-up last night. Subject: housewarming for real this time. Body: hey all. Apologies again for the unpleasantness last month. The air has been cleared and the trash has officially been taken out. I'm having that barbecue for real 2 weeks from Saturday. My home, my rules. Hope you can make it. Dominic is not invited. The RSVPs have been amazing.
My name is Dawn Whitaker, and I'm 35 years old. I used to believe weddings were about love, unity, and family standing beside you on the most important day of your life. But my wedding proved me wrong, and the truth hit harder than I ever imagined. The ceremony that day was beautiful on the beach in San Diego with my husband by my side and my grandmother walking me down the aisle. The cheers, the golden sunset, everything was perfect, except for the 2 empty seats where my parents should have been. I believed their excuse for not coming, but just a few days later, photos from Hawaii said everything they chose somewhere else, someone else, and left me behind on my own wedding day. And then they sent money to apologize. I sent it back with a cold message: keep the money. You'll need it for what's coming next. If you've ever been betrayed by family, leave a comment below. Would you forgive? Or cut them off? I want to hear your story. A few months before the wedding planning kicked off with all my hopes pinned on making it perfect despite the tight budget. As a preschool teacher in San Diego, I dove into DIY details with Blaine sketching handwritten vows on note cards and crafting party favors from seashells we collected ourselves. The beach venue felt right, sunset views, simple arch of driftwood, nothing fancy but full of our story. We budgeted every penny, skipping big florals for wildflowers from a local market and enlisting friends for the cake bake-off. My parents, back in Tucson, ran a small leather goods store, hand-stitching belts and wallets for tourists hitting the desert trails. They were always quick to brag about my older sister Kendra's success, how she built her own boutique in Hawaii with her husband and kids in tow, turning it into a go-to spot for custom bags. Family dinners on rare visits turned into Kendra highlight reels, her latest expansion. The praise from local influencers, while my teaching job got a polite nod at best. When I called with the wedding news, their reaction landed flat over the line. Mom Amber complained her arthritis was flaring worse in the dry Arizona heat, making long drives or flights a no-go. Dad Chad jumped in about store pressures, summer crowds overwhelming inventory, and forcing late-night stitching orders. "We're happy for you, Dawn," Mom said, but the tone dragged like an obligation, no excitement about flying out or helping with setup. Those conversations stirred up old memories I tried to push down. Like the time they funded Kendra's business startup with a hefty loan from store profits, flying over multiple times to help stock shelves, but skipped my college graduation because the shop couldn't close. Or birthdays where Kendra's gifts dwarfed mine designer leather from their stock for her, a generic card for me with promises of something later that never came. Dad once said Kendra's drive inspired him, implying I needed to hustle more like her. Blaine stayed my anchor through it all, joining planning calls to brainstorm guest lists and rehearsal dinner spots at a casual taco stand. He sensed my frustration after hanging up with them, rubbing my shoulders while I vented about the favoritism pattern. "Focus on us," he'd say, pulling out spreadsheets for costs. Still, I crafted detailed emails outlining logistics, direct flights from Tucson to San Diego under 2 hours, hotel blocks near the beach, even offers to pay for comfortable shuttles or mobility aids for Mom's joints. The disconnect built quietly. Holiday cards from them featured Kendra's family photos, front and center captions gushing over her kids' milestones, while mentions of my life felt tacked on. I double-checked RSVPs, attaching venue maps and dietary menus, hoping the concrete plans would sway them. Dad replied once with a vague, "We'll see how health holds," Mom echoing worries about desert-to-coast travel aggravating her condition. Their store's busy season loomed as the ultimate excuse, peak sales from hikers needing durable gear. Blaine and I walked the beach site one evening, marking spots for chairs, and the aisle runner, his hand in mine, steadying the doubts. I texted them photos of the setup, asking for input on seating for Tucson relatives. Silence stretched, broken only by a group chat ping from Kendra sharing her Hawaii sunset pics, Dad commenting hearts, Mom adding praise. It stung, that easy engagement with her world versus the effort I poured into invites. Through vendor meetings and dress fittings, I clung to optimism, printing custom invites with beach motifs and sealing them with wax stamps. Blaine proofed our vows aloud in the living room, his words about building a future grounding me. Yet emails piled up unanswered, their store's online shop updates flooding my feed with new leather arrivals Kendra tagged in promo posts. The pattern whispered louder always, her spotlight my shadows. In the final weeks, my pleas turned frantic as deadlines loomed. I dialed them daily, voice cracking, while outlining last-minute flights in wheelchair-accessible vans from Tucson airports. Mom kept repeating her arthritis locked her joints stiff, no way to endure the turbulence or coastal humidity shift. Dad piled on about urgent store orders, stacking up custom saddles for ranchers delayed by supply chain hits in the desert heat, forcing him to man the workbench nonstop. "It's just not feasible, Dawn." He sighed each time hanging up before I could push harder on alternatives like train rides or extended stays. The wedding morning dawned clear salt air mixing with floral scents as guests arrived. Grandma Muriel Tate linked arms with me for the aisle walk, her grip firm and whispers encouraging through the veil. The sand shifted underfoot waves, providing a soft backdrop to our exchange of rings. Tucson family spots sat vacant amid the folding chairs, a glaring void that friends politely ignored. Blaine pulled me into dances under string lights, post-vows, his laughter drawing cheers during toasts about our shared adventures. Speeches flowed with inside jokes from our dating days, plates of grilled seafood circulating freely. Yet I darted glances toward the entrance path, convincing myself they might rush in late with apologies and flowers, turning the gap into a minor hiccup. Evening wound down with cleanup chats, everyone hugging goodbye under the stars. Back home, crashing on the couch, I grabbed my phone for mindless scrolls to shake off the fatigue. Notifications pulled me to Instagram stories first, a vague repost, then full reels of palm trees and ocean blues. There they were, parents beaming in floral shirts beside Kendra's family, at a beachside luau plates piled with roast pig and leis draped around necks. Swiping further revealed yacht deck shots, them toasting with pineapple drinks, while Kendra's kids splashed in the background. Captions raved about recharging bonds, geotags, pinning exact Hawaii spots. Timestamps overlapped my ceremony hour by hour, the yacht cruise aligning with our vow recitals. My stomach twisted, fingers trembling as I pinched to zoom on their relaxed poses, no trace of illness in sight. Rage boiled over, I hit redial without thinking, phone pressed tight to ear. Mom picked up first tone, shifting from surprise to stutter when I demanded explanations. It was a last-minute thing Kendra set up for family reconnection. She fumbled Dad, chiming in background about how the invite came sudden after store slowdowns. They claimed ignorance of conflicts until takeoff, then health excuses held water for backing out. "We didn't want to disappoint you more," Dad added weakly, but the yacht glamour mocked every word. I pressed on the details, voice rising about the arthritis vanishing mid-vacation. Mom deflected to Kendra's need for parental backup during her busy season. Dad, muttering store profits, funded the trip as a deserved break. Their stammers grew excuses, layering like bad patchwork, unexpected fares, spontaneous bookings, anything to dodge the core choice they made. The call dragged with half admissions, them insisting it wasn't intentional neglect. Blaine walked in mid-conversation, seeing my face and mouthing questions. I waved him quiet, grilling them on why no cancellation text during the event. Silence stretched before Mom whispered regret, Dad promising to explain in person soon. Hanging up left me hollow, the screen still open to those carefree frames clashing against my aisle solitude. A couple days after that heated call, a plain envelope from Tucson showed up on my doorstep. Inside sat a check for $10,000 folded neatly with a store-bought card featuring stock newlywed icons and a printed message about eternal bliss. No handwritten lines, just signatures from Mom and Dad squeezed at the bottom as if the amount could erase their no-show and smooth over the Hawaii escape. The memo line read, "Wedding gift," hitting like a calculated fix for guilt without real effort. I sat at the kitchen table staring at it, pen in hand, drafting my response right then. The letter poured out pages money couldn't replace their presence at the vows, or fill those chairs, and I wove in the verbal promises about the leather store inheritance, how they once said it would go to me as the younger one needing steady roots after teaching gigs. I typed up old texts and notes from family talks where Dad floated the idea during store visits, emphasizing stability over Kendra's flashier path. Sealed it with the check-enclosed address stamped back to their Tucson shop. Blaine peeked over my shoulder as I printed, nodding along to the firm tone rejecting any buy-off vibe. "This feels right," he said, suggesting we snap a photo of the envelope before mailing for records. He agreed it screamed bribery, a quick cash drop to quiet backlash without facing the favoritism core. Grandma Muriel Tate rang from her California spot that afternoon, checking on honeymoon vibes and casually asking how the folks handled travel woes. I unloaded everything, the Instagram slips, the 6-story crumbling under timestamps full breach, laid bare with screenshots forwarded over. Her intake breath said it all. She promised discretion, but couldn't hide the outrage in follow-ups about years of slanted attention toward Kendra. Word rippled fast through Arizona kin once Muriel looped in cousins during her next coffee chat. Texts flooded my phone, one aunt recalling Dad gifting Kendra prime store leather scraps for her Hawaii startup while I got hand-me-down tools. A cousin venting about skipped invites to my events but front row for Kendra's openings. We've seen this coming. Another message sharing a group thread where relatives pieced together the pattern from holidays where Kendra dominated toasts. Parents circled back via phone midweek, Dad leading with defenses on the Hawaii jaunt as duty to Kendra's thriving venture, how her success pulled them in for advisory roles on inventory trends. Mom backed him, framing it as balanced parenting for the high achiever daughter versus my steady routine. We thought the check showed care. Dad pressed voice-edged when I mentioned the return already in transit. Their push for acceptance clashed against my calm breakdown of broken store handover talks, them dodging with vague, "We'll revisit wills later." To capture it all, I switched my phone to record mode discreetly, letting their justifications roll. Kendra's business demands justifying flight store margins tight, but her expansions inspiring enough for loans I never saw. Dad referenced specific ledgers from Tucson books, claiming profits dipped unless they networked via her contacts. Mom interjected about emotional pulls, Kendra's kids needing grandparent time amid her workload. The tape ran long, their tones mixing defensiveness with pleas for understanding the big picture, favoritism as motivation, not neglect. Blaine joined the line midway, his questions sharpening the exchange on why inheritance chats shifted silently. They hemmed about legal tweaks for Kendra's growth potential, Dad admitting off-record store value tied more to her marketing savvy. Hanging up, I saved the file labeled with dates, stacking it with letter copies and family texts as proof of the long favoritism arc from unequal college funds to vacation priors, favoring her Isle life. Cousins kept pinging with solidarity, one digging up old emails where Mom praised Kendra's hustle in newsletters while glossing my classroom wins. An uncle offered to mediate, but backed my stance after hearing recording snippets. Muriel followed with voice notes affirming the spread her network in Arizona, bridging gaps to more relatives, questioning the store's future ties. The returned package tracking pinged en route, my letter's words echoing in mine presence over payouts, accountability for promises. Blaine helped organize folders of evidence, his input on probate basics from online reads calming the storm. Parents follow text begged for check details, but I left read receipts silent, letting the wait build. Family chain mails circulated anonymized story bits. Aunts drafting supportive notes on shared drives. One cousin recalled Dad's workbench stories, always looping to Kendra's custom orders, sidelining my rare store help days. The buzz grew, organic relatives piecing favoritism puzzles without my direct push. About a week after mailing the letter, a knock echoed at the door, unannounced. I peered through the peephole to see Mom Amber and Dad Chad standing there, faces drawn from the long haul drive across deserts and highways from Tucson. Dust clung to their clothes, eyes shadowed like they hadn't slept much, pleading to come in for a face-to-face talk away from phone barriers. Blaine let them through to the living room, tension thick as they sank into chairs clutching water bottles. They launched into explanations right away, Dad starting on Kendra's sudden financial crunch, with her Hawaii boutique supplier costs spiking, forcing emergency loans they wired overnight to keep shelves stocked. Mom nodded, describing the torn pull between us two blood daughters, Kendra's pleas, hitting harder amid her family responsibilities, while my life seemed more self-sufficient. We felt obligated, Dad said, hands gesturing the impossible choice of splitting time and resources evenly. I countered with a rundown of the favoritism track record starting with sophomore year, when they slashed my tuition payments to cover Kendra's trade show trips for leather sourcing contacts. Birthdays amplified it too, her packages overflowing with high-end store prototypes, twice the size of my modest envelopes. Dad once joking her ambition earned extras. High school awards ceremonies saw them absent from my honors, but present for Kendra's early business pitches pattern, repeating in family newsletters, skewed her way. Amber owned up to the joint pain being real, but admitted the Hawaii air and activities dulled the store grind temporarily, a rare reset amid Tucson orders piling. Chad built on that, insisting Kendra merited the priority for her grind, late nights prototyping client hunts that boosted family pride, unlike my classroom routine. She's pushing boundaries we admire, he argued, voice firm on her deserving the edge in support. Blaine sat beside me, his presence bolstering as I laid out boundaries sharp and final. No more tolerating fabrications about commitments, demanding true ownership of actions before any reconnection talks. Show change through deeds, not drives. I stated, eyes locked on theirs during the ultimatum. The room hung heavy with my terms, space to heal proof via balanced decisions or permanent distance. They absorbed it, Mom tearing up over missteps in equity, Dad conceding will revisions for fair store shares beyond Kendra's claims. We'll consult the lawyer next week, he vowed, sketching rough asset splits on a napkin to demonstrate intent. Amber echoed, fixing the ledger, promising outreach to relatives for unified fronts. Departure dragged with awkward hugs, attempted air unresolved as they loaded back into the car for the return trek. Dad paused at the threshold, reiterating the will overhaul to include my stake explicitly. Mom adding apologies for the drive not bridging gaps fully. Blaine closed the door behind them. The engine fade, leaving echoes of unfulfilled assurances. I paced the space they vacated, replaying their admissions on Kendra's merit versus my stability. Blaine brewed tea, discussing how their napkin plan rang hollow without drafts. The visit stirred fresh resolve, their haggard arrival, underscoring desperation over sincerity. Neighbors waved unknowingly as their taillights vanished the desert route ahead, mirroring the emotional miles uncrossed. Right after they drove off, I pulled up the family Facebook group on my laptop. Fingers flew across keys, compiling a full timeline, post screenshots of Hawaii posts, overlapping the wedding sick excuses debunked by timestamps. The returned check scan, blurred for privacy, layered with archived evidence of Kendra favoritism, like uneven holiday allocations and skipped milestones. I captioned it, straightforward facts on the table for accountability, no spins. Notifications exploded within minutes, Grandma Muriel leading with heart emojis and a comment thread on how she'd long noticed the tilt toward Kendra's wins, sharing her own tales of parents prioritizing the outgoing sibling in gatherings. Cousins chimed in with parallels, one detailing Dad's favoritism in assigning store chores, where Kendra got creative designs while they handled grunt work. Aunts recalled vacations rerouted to Kendra's interests, leaving others sidelined. Kendra slid into my DMs hours later, firing off defenses on parents' Tucson store strains from seasonal slumps, accusing me of selfishness for rejecting the check gesture. They're exhausted keeping the business afloat, and you throw it back ungrateful, she typed, painting their Hawaii as a brief morale boost amid ledgers in red. Her words dug at family loyalty, insisting my independence blinded me to their sacrifices for her path. My response stayed measured, zeroing in on deeds defining bonds over delayed compensations or verbal fixes, real presence and equity in decisions, not cash drops, or island getaways masking choices. Prove family through consistency. I hit send, attaching no attachments, letting the core stand without escalating. Whispers hit Tucson circles by next morning. Loyal store patrons spotting the group leak and venting on Yelp with one-star drags on the favoritism scandal tainting product trust. Reviews piled, heard the owners ditch daughter's wedding for sibling trip, can't support hypocrisy. One ex-customer wrote, citing leather quality drop from distracted management. Another slammed service delays tied to family drama priorities, vowing boycotts in desert forums. Blaine took shifts monitoring the influx, refreshing feeds to flag supportive waves from extended kin praising my stand. Breathe through it, he advised during peaks, pulling me from screens to walk the block, his scans catching troll attempts early. Comments swelled positive relatives vowing distance from parents until a men's one uncle polling group on inheritance fairness. Yelp threads branched to local AZ pages, hikers debating boycotts over ethics store ratings, sliding as word of mouth soured repeat business. Kendra fired back publicly in comments downplaying as private spat, but backlash grew with shares tagging the shop. Muriel moderated her circle's inputs, steering to constructive calls for parents' reflection. Blaine bookmarked key posts for potential legal notes, his calm filtering noise amid the digital storm. Group admins locked heated exchanges, but core narrative stuck favoritism exposed, eroding the store's community rep. A few weeks of radio silence built pressure, then Grandma called with bombshell updates, straight from Arizona Grapevine. She described their blowout fight escalating over Kendra bias, Mom blasting Dad for consistently elevating the older daughter above me in every resource call. Voices raised in the store back room, Amber pointing to years of skewed checks, where Kendra's ventures drained funds while my needs got footnotes, Chad defending it as investing in proven drive. The leather shop tanked hard from those Yelp bombs, 1 stars cascading as desert locals shunned the counter-hikers, canceling bulk orders reviews, blasting management distraction from family rifts, eroding craftsmanship trust. Foot traffic dried up in Tucson heat shelves, gathering dust as word spread through rancher networks boycotting over perceived hypocrisy. My lawyer reached out unprompted, forwarding archived emails where Dad explicitly pledged the store to Dawn for the stability you deserve as the grounded one, contrasting Kendra's risks. But the recent will flipped it to her notarized quietly amid her expansion pitches, citing her business acumen as fit successor. Armed with deception logs and favoritism docs from relatives' Arizona probate court. Ruled in my favor, swift, fraudulent intent in the switch proven by timelines and witness statements. Ownership deed transferring straight to me without contest drag. The judge noted verbal promises held weight against the late alterations. Kendra exploded in fury, severing ties with parents over the lost inheritance windfall, stranding them amid mounting business debts from unpaid suppliers and lease hikes. No more Hawaii remittances, their isolation deepened in empty Tucson aisles. I initiated full blocks across phones, emails, and socials, enforcing the cutoff to safeguard my inner calm from further pulls. Around a month after the court ruling, my energy turned fully toward what lay ahead. Blaine and I closed on a cozy bungalow in San Diego suburbs, painting walls and planting succulents to craft our safe haven, leaning on close friends for weekend barbecues and game nights that filled the space with genuine laughter. Grandma Muriel wove in seamlessly her visits, sparking impromptu family barbecues where stories flowed without old weights. She hosted low-key gatherings with select relatives, backyard pots of chili and board games fostering bonds that helped unpack the favoritism scars from kid days' quiet talks on the patio, dissecting how early slights shaped trust issues, her gentle prompts leading to breakthroughs without judgment. Parents sank into Tucson solitude, the store shuttering for good amid bankruptcy filings and community pullback auction signs on windows signaling end to decades of stitching amid empty lots. Kendra hunkered down solo in Hawaii, cut off from any kin aid post-dispute, her boutique weathering storms without the expected backup. Boundaries hit early became my shield against vicious cycles of bias, self-value, the lockout key to dodging repeats. True kin show up steady, cherish those who truly see your worth.
My wife said, I'm going on a business trip with my boss. Then I saw the couple's massage booking on her email. I replied, work hard. Then I called her boss's wife, forwarded the email, and wished her a happy anniversary. The screaming I heard through the phone when she called me back. I, 36 male, work as an urban planner for the city. It's a job about rules, long-term consequences, and seeing how one small change can affect an entire system. It's methodical. I like it. My wife, Alara, 34, is the opposite. She's all flash and momentum. She works in high-end commercial real estate development. We've been married for 7 years. It's been stable. Until about 6 months ago, when she got this new job with a shark-like developer named Alistair, 50-something. Lately, the distance has been palpable. client dinners that run until 1 a.m., site visits on weekends. Her phone, once left casually on the counter, is now permanently screened down or in her purse. I'm a planner. I see the pattern. Last night she came home buzzing, kissed me on the cheek, which felt like a formality, and poured a huge glass of wine. "Babe, massive news," she said. "Alistair is taking me to the big Coastal Developers Summit. It's huge, just me and him. If we land this, it's the new high-rise account. It's everything." "Wow," I said. "Just you and him?" "Don't be like that, Leo," she snapped, her good mood vanishing. "It's work. You know the thing I'm good at? It's 3 days. I leave Thursday." "Okay," I said. "Just congrats." I felt that cold, familiar knot. I'm not a don't be like that guy. I'm the guy who supports her. But this felt different. This morning she was in the shower getting ready to go to the office before her trip. Our shared family tablet was on the kitchen counter charging. I was just checking the weather. A notification popped up on the lock screen. An email from Serenity Spa and Resort. Subject: your booking confirmation. My heart didn't pound. It just stopped. My job is about details. I unlocked the tablet. Her personal email was still logged in. I opened it. It wasn't just a spa booking. It was an itinerary. "Dear Alara, we are thrilled to confirm your reservation for our couples retreat package." It listed the services: 90-minute aromatherapy deep tissue, private grotto soak, champagne and strawberries. And the guests, booked for Alistair and Alara. The blood drained from my face. I scrolled down. The date, Thursday, the day she leaves. I felt sick. But the planner in me took over. I needed more data. Alistair is a local big shot. His wife Rowena is a socialite on the board of every local charity. Her social media is public. It took me 30 seconds to find her Instagram. I scrolled back. Posts about fundraisers, new shoes, her awful little dogs. And then exactly 1 year ago, a post. "Happy 20th anniversary to my rock, Alistair. He's whisking me away. I'm the luckiest woman alive. Can't wait for 21. The date of the post, 2 days before their trip. The date of the couple's retreat booking. Their 21st anniversary. My wife isn't just sleeping with her boss. She's his anniversary present to himself. I felt a sudden strange calm. The hurt was there, deep and cold, but on the surface was just logic. A problem to be solved. A system that needed correction. Alara came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel. "Hey, can you iron my silk blouse, the one I need for the summit dinner?" she asked. I just nodded. "Sure." While the iron heated up, I sent her a text, even though she was in the next room. Me. "Trip sounds intense. Work hard. XO?" She glanced at her phone and smiled. "Thanks, babe. You're the best." 9:15 a.m. Alara left for the office. I found the website for Rowena's main charity. Her contact info was right there on the board members page. An assistant's email and her direct line. I forwarded the Serenity Spa email confirmation to my own account. Then I forwarded it to Rowena. Subject: happy anniversary. "Rowena, this is Leo, Alara's husband. I believe our spouses are collaborating on a special project for your anniversary. You should see this confirmation. I believe it's for this Thursday. All the best, Leo." I hit send. 9:30 a.m. I called the best, most ruthless divorce lawyer in the city, the one who handled my colleague's nightmare separation. "Hello, I need to book an emergency consultation. Today, my wife is having an affair with her boss and I just sent the proof to his wife." A pause. Mr. Leo, can you be here at 11 a.m.? 10. My phone rang. An unknown number. I let it ring. A minute later, my actual phone rang. "Alara." I answered. I put it on speaker. It wasn't her voice I heard first. It was screaming. A woman's voice, pure operatic rage. "I will ruin you. I will end you, Alistair. You're done." Then Alara's voice, high-pitched and panicked. Leo, what did you do? What did you do?" "Hi, Alara. What's wrong? Sounds busy." "Rowena is here. Alistair is. What did you send her?" My job." "Leo, why?" "I just wished her a happy anniversary," I said, my voice perfectly level. "Isn't that what you're supposed to do? You two were getting a couple's massage for it." I heard a sound, a gasp, then a sob. You bastard. You spied on me. Your itinerary popped up on the tablet, Alara. You booked an anniversary getaway with another woman's husband. I just forwarded the mail." The screaming in the background got closer. I heard Rowena, clear as day. "Get her out. Get her out of my building." Leo, please. You have to fix this. Call her. Tell her it was a mix-up. A team building. Leo, I'm going to be fired. That sounds like a natural consequence, Alara. You've ruined my life. No, I said, grabbing my keys to go see the lawyer. You did. I just sent the receipts. Goodbye. I hung up. The apartment was quiet. I took a deep breath. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from clarity. The system was in motion. Update 1, it's been 2 weeks. Hell is a word. Nuclear is another. I've been staying at my brother's place since the call, but I had to go back to the house today to meet my lawyer. And unfortunately, Alara was there. The trip was, of course, instantly cancelled. Alara was, as predicted, fired. Or as her termination letter apparently put it, her position was eliminated, effective immediately, due to corporate restructuring. I guess Rowena is on the company's board, family money, of course, and that restructuring was swift. Alistair was also fired, canned, booted, pursuing other opportunities. Rowena, I hear, is divorcing him and has already had his assets frozen. She does not play. But my problem isn't Rowena, it's Alara. I went to the house with my lawyer, as agreed, to assess the property. We've been married 7 years. The house is mine. I bought it 5 years before we even met. It's a premarital asset. My name is the only one on the deed. I thought this would be simple. I was wrong. We walked in, and she was sitting on the sofa surrounded by packing tape and empty wine bottles. She looked terrible. But the moment she saw me, her eyes went from dead to pure venom. There he is, she's standing up. The man. The little spy who ruined my life. Alara, I said, tired. We're here with my lawyer, Mr. Graves, to discuss the path forward. The path forward? She laughed. A high, ugly sound. The path forward is you fixing this, Leo. You think you can just blow up my entire career, my life, and just walk away? Alara, you had an affair on his wife's anniversary. What did you think? I thought you were my husband, she shrieked. I thought you were supposed to support me. This was a mistake. A stupid, stupid mistake. Alistair, he's powerful. He promised me a partnership. Do you know what that means? We would have been set for life. Set. And you threw it all away for what? Your pathetic little pride? I was speechless. The entitlement. She wasn't sorry she did it. She was sorry she got caught. She was furious that I hadn't just, let her? You need to leave, Alara, I said. This is my house. You have 24 hours to get your things. This is where her lawyer must have coached her. Her entire demeanor changed. She smiled. A slow, cold, calculating smile. No, I don't think I will. Mr. Graves stepped forward. Miss Alara, the deed is solely in Mr. Leo's name. It is a premarital asset. You have no legal right to stay here. Oh, but I do, she said, tapping her temple. See, I may not be on the deed, but I paid for the entire kitchen and master bath remodel. $120,000 of my money, my inheritance actually. That's my equity. This house is just as much mine as it is his, so I'm not going anywhere until I get my half. Or until a judge makes me. My lawyer and I looked at each other. She was right. She'd used an inheritance she got 3 years ago to fund a massive renovation. That value is now commingled. This just went from a simple eviction to a protracted, ugly, expensive legal battle over occupancy. She knew she had me, so... Path forward? She mocked. The path forward is you paying me, Leo. You either buy me out, or we sell the house and split it. Until then, I'm your roommate. She's dug in. She's in the guest room, but she's here, making my life a living hell. She blasts music. She accidentally leaves the stove on. She forgets to lock the door. It's hostile. And the entitlement has escalated. Her mother, Fiona, called me. Not once. 12 times. Leo, this is Fiona. You have to stop this. You are destroying her. She was trapped, Leo. A man like Alistair, you don't say no to him. She's a victim here. You're supposed to be her protector, and you fed her to the wolves. What kind of man does that? Fiona, she booked a couple's massage, I said for the 4th time. She wasn't trapped. She was packing silk blouses. You are a cold, cold man, she hissed and hung up. So now I'm in a legal stalemate. I can't get her out without a court order, and that takes time. She's in my house, actively hostile, demanding her half of my property. My lawyer is filing for an emergency order of exclusive occupancy, citing her infidelity and creation of a hostile environment, but it's not a slam dunk. While I was there, I noticed her eyeing something. On my office wall, I have a set of original architectural drawings. They were my grandfather's. They're my artifact. They're the most valuable thing I own, not in money, but in sentiment. She looked right at them, then at me, and smiled. I always did love these. I'm moving them to a safe deposit box tomorrow. This is just the beginning. Final update. It's over. It's finally, truly over. The past 2 months have been a masterclass in legal maneuvering and human ugliness. The roommate situation became untenable. I moved back to my brother's. I refused to be in that house with her. My lawyer and I decided to let the legal process play out. We had the hearing for the exclusive occupancy. We lost. The judge, a woman who seemed exhausted by the whole thing, ruled that since Alara had a significant, demonstrable financial stake in the property, the $120,000 remodel, I couldn't just kick her out without a final divorce decree. She was ordered to stay in the guest wing, me and the master, if I chose. But we were legally stuck. Alara was smug. She thought she'd won. She thought she could drag this out for a year, bleed me dry in legal fees, and force a sale of the house. She saw this as weakness. So she escalated. This is where the dirty trick comes in. This is where she overplayed her hand so badly it cost her everything. I had, as promised, moved my grandfather's drawings to a bank vault. I'm not an idiot, but I'd forgotten about something else. In my office, in a flat file cabinet, were my own professional portfolios. Years of my work, renderings, plans, conceptual designs for city projects. Not valuable in a monetary sense, but they were my career. My professional history. I had to go to the house to retrieve them for a job interview. I'm looking at a new position in the private sector, far away from all this. I walked into my office. Alara was at work, or job hunting as she claimed. I opened the flat file. Empty. Every single portfolio. Gone. I felt that same coldness from the day I found the email. I have a small, motion-activated security camera in my office. I installed it after she forgot to lock the front door. I checked the footage from the day before. There she was, clear as day. Alara in a business suit, carefully and methodically emptying my file cabinet, stacking my portfolios and carrying them out to her car. She didn't look angry. She looked efficient. This wasn't an act of passion. This was calculated leverage. She was going to hold my career hostage. I didn't call her. I didn't text. I called my lawyer, Mr. Graves. She did it. She stole my portfolios. I have it on video. I heard him take a sharp breath. Leo, send me that file. Now, do not engage with her. At all. The revenge, it was beautiful. And it wasn't even my idea, it was his. What Alara didn't know is that theft of property during divorce proceedings is not just bad faith. It's criminal contempt of court. And in our state, trade secrets or professional works are valued very highly. Mr. Graves filed an emergency motion, not just for occupancy, for contempt and theft. We were in front of the same judge 48 hours later. Alara was there with her lawyer, looking confused. She clearly thought this was about something boring, like discovery. The judge, Mr. Graves, this is an unscheduled motion. This had better be good. It is, Your Honor, Graves said, his voice like ice. 2 days ago, the defendant, in clear violation of the automatic temporary restraining orders that prevent the removal or hiding of assets, entered my client's private office and stole his professional portfolios containing his entire career's worth of work. We have a video. He played it on the courtroom monitor, the entire 10-minute clip, Alara methodically, calmly stealing. Alara's lawyer looked at her. His face went white. I heard him whisper, "What did you do?" Alara was staring at the screen, her mouth open. The judge was livid. She took off her glasses. "Miss Alara," she said, her voice dangerously quiet. "You came into my courtroom 2 weeks ago claiming you were a victim, claiming you needed the protection of this court to keep your home. And then, you did this? You committed theft of your husband's professional property?" I was just moving them for safekeeping," Alara stammered. "Safekeeping? In your car?" The judge roared. "You lied to my face. This is an act of breathtaking bad faith. This is criminal." The consequences. Oh, they were so sweet. The house, the judge reversed her previous ruling on the spot. Motion for exclusive occupancy is granted, effective immediately. "Miss Alara, you will vacate the premises by 5 p.m. today. You are to be escorted by a sheriff's deputy to retrieve your personal clothing and only your personal clothing and the stolen property, which you will return to Mr. Leo now." The theft. Alara was found in criminal contempt. She was fined $10,000. The divorce. The judge was so incensed by Alara's bad faith actions that it poisoned the entire case. Alara's claim for spousal support? Denied. Completely. The judge ruled that her attempt to financially sabotage her husband proved she was not arguing in good faith. The equity. This is the best part. Her $120,000 in the kitchen was still her equity. That's law. But the judge ordered that her $10,000 contempt fine and 100% of my legal fees from the date of the theft onward were to be paid directly from her share of the equity. The final tally. The divorce was finalized last week. Alistair and Rowena heard the grapevine. Their divorce is final. Rowena, who sits on the board, tore his reputation to shreds. He's unemployable in this city. He lost his houses, his cars, everything. Alara, she got her check. The $120,000 equity, minus the $10,000 fine, minus $35,000 for my legal fees. Mr. Graves is not cheap. She walked away with $75,000, no job, no house, no spousal support, and a contempt of court on her record. She's living with her mother, Fiona? I'm told it's tense. I'm out $75,000, which stings. But it's just money. I have my house. It's quiet. I have my portfolios back. I have my grandfather's drawings, which I just hung back on my office wall. I didn't have to ruin her career. Rowena did that. I didn't have to destroy her finances. The judge did that. I didn't have to prove she was a liar. She did that on camera. She thought she was a shark, but she was just a parasite. She tried to hold my life hostage for leverage. All I did was send one email, and then I let the system she disdained so much just work. It was, as I told my lawyer, a logical consequence. During family game night, my fiancé's dad asked why she was settling for me. She smiled and said, because no one else would marry him. I just put down my cards. A month later, they were asking if I'd talk to her again. The game was Monopoly, which was ironic considering I was about to lose everything I thought I was building. We were at my fiancée Jenna's parents' house for their weekly family game night. It was a mandatory event, a cornerstone of their perfect family image. I was sitting between Jenna and her father, Robert, a man who wore his disappointment in me like a well-tailored suit. Jenna's best friend, Madison, was there too, practically a family member. She and Jenna were giggling about something on their phones, while Robert was counting his fake money with the seriousness of a Wall Street banker. He landed on my property, Boardwalk, with a hotel on it. I told him he owed me $2,000. He sighed dramatically, peeling off the colorful bills. Then he looked across the board at his daughter, my fiancée. Jenna, I just don't get it, he said, loud enough for the whole room to hear. Look at this guy. He's a decent earner, I'll give him that. But he has no style, no pedigree. Why are you settling for him? The air in the room went still. It wasn't the first time he'd made a comment like this, but it was by far the most direct. I felt a familiar tightening in my gut, the one I'd learned to ignore. I looked at Jenna, expecting her to defend me, to shut her father down. Instead, a slow, coy smile spread across her face. She reached over and patted my hand, looking right at her dad. Because no one else would marry him, she said, her voice dripping with faux sweetness. Someone has to take care of him. Madison burst out laughing, a shrill, ugly sound. Jenna's mother gave a little titter of amusement. And Robert just smirked, a satisfied, I told you so look on his face. They all saw it as a joke. A funny little jab at the quiet, unassuming guy they had all grown to tolerate. I didn't say a word. I looked down at the cards in my hand, at the little plastic hotel on Boardwalk. I felt no anger, no sadness. It was the kind of clarity you get when a complex equation finally solves itself. For 3 years I had been running a cost-benefit analysis on this relationship, and her words were the final, definitive data point. The investment had soured. The risk now far outweighed the potential reward. I calmly placed my cards face down on the board. I think I'm done playing for tonight, I said, my voice even. I stood up, walked into the kitchen, and got a glass of water. Through the doorway I could hear them resuming their game, my absence barely registering. They thought I was pouting. They had no idea I was liquidating my assets. Let me explain. I'm not a simp, I'm a private equity investor. My entire career is built on a single skill: identifying undervalued or mismanaged assets, acquiring a controlling interest, optimizing their operations, and then selling them for a massive profit. I analyze systems, I find weaknesses, and I execute long-term strategies. 3 years ago, I applied that same skill set to my personal life. I met Jenna at a charity gala. She was beautiful, charming, and came from a family with a legacy business, a regional manufacturing company called Sterling Industries. Her father, Robert, had inherited it from his father, and it was the source of all their wealth and social standing. After a few dates, she invited me to her parents' house for dinner. Robert spent the entire evening talking about his company. But the more he talked, the more I realized he was a terrible businessman. He was coasting on his father's reputation, making sentimental decisions instead of smart ones, and was completely blind to the changing market. I did a deep dive. I spent a week of my own time analyzing Sterling Industries from the outside. The company was an absolute diamond in the rough. It had a solid product line and a loyal customer base, but it was being horribly mismanaged. Outdated technology, inefficient supply chains, a bloated management structure. It was bleeding money, but its core assets were incredibly valuable. With the right leadership, it could be turned around and sold to a national competitor for a fortune. So I formulated a 5-year plan. Step 1, acquire the key asset, which was Jenna. Step 2, integrate into the family structure. Step 3, gain Robert's trust and a seat on the company's board. Step 4, execute a complete operational overhaul. Step 5, facilitate a strategic acquisition by a larger firm, making myself and the family incredibly wealthy and securing my future. Jenna was the entry point. The relationship was my cost of acquisition. I knew from the beginning that she and her family were shallow and materialistic. I tolerated the constant, subtle digs about my background because I grew up in a working-class family. I tolerated Robert's condescending attitude. I tolerated Madison's snarky comments and her role as Jenna's enabling, parasitic sidekick. I paid for the lavish dinners, the surprise designer gifts, the weekend getaways. I played the part of the devoted, slightly out-of-his-league fiancé. It was all a calculated business expense, an investment in a much larger prize. But her comment during that game night changed the entire equation. It was a public declaration that she saw me not as a partner, but as a charity case. It revealed that she had no respect for me, which meant I would never gain the influence needed to execute my plan. The core asset was flawed. The deal was dead. And when a deal goes bad, you don't just walk away. You mitigate your losses and, if necessary, you initiate a hostile takeover of the competition. They saw me as a pawn in their game. They were about to find out I was the one who owned the entire board. Update 1. The week after the game night was a study in strategic silence. I didn't mention the incident. I was perfectly pleasant, but I was distant. I created a space between us, a professional buffer. When Jenna asked what was wrong, I just told her I was preoccupied with a complex new deal at work. This was, of course, true. The deal was the complete and total dismantling of her family's world. They interpreted my quietness as weakness. I overheard Jenna on the phone with Madison, saying I was in one of my moods and that she'd have to cheer me up with a shopping trip. They thought I was a simple machine that could be placated with shiny objects. This arrogance was their greatest vulnerability, and I was going to exploit it to its fullest extent. My first move was to secure my own position. Jenna and I lived in a condo that I owned outright. She had moved in 2 years ago. I spent a Saturday while she was out with Madison creating a complete photographic and itemized inventory of every single possession in that condo. I documented what was mine, what was hers, and what was jointly acquired. Then I met with a lawyer, a man who specialized in high-conflict divorces and corporate litigation. He reviewed my documentation and the prenuptial agreement I had insisted on, which Jenna had laughed at but signed. The prenup was ironclad. It protected all my pre-existing assets, including my condo and my investment portfolio. Our engagement was, legally speaking, a very clean break. Next, I turned my attention to Sterling Industries. For the past year, I had been discreetly gathering internal data on the company. Robert, in his infinite arrogance, had often asked me to look over financial reports, seeking my praise for his supposed business genius. I had saved every one of them. I knew their suppliers, their clients, their debt structure, and their operational weak points better than he did. Now it was time to use that information. Sterling's biggest weakness was its reliance on a single, primary supplier for a critical raw material. Let's call them Apex Materials. Robert had a long-standing relationship with Apex's owner, but it was a relationship built on golf games and expensive lunches, not sound business practices. I knew from my research that Apex was being squeezed by rising costs and was looking for new, more reliable partners. I leveraged my own network. I arranged a meeting with the CEO of Apex. I didn't mention Sterling Industries. Instead, I presented him with a deal on behalf of a different company in my portfolio. I offered him a long-term contract with a 10% price increase over what Sterling was paying, guaranteed order volumes for 3 years, and payment terms that were twice as favorable. It was an offer he couldn't refuse. He signed the contract, giving Sterling the standard 60-day notice that their supply agreement was being terminated. Robert wouldn't know it yet, but the heart of his company had just been ripped out. The second pillar of Sterling was their largest client, a national retail chain that accounted for nearly 40% of their annual revenue. I knew from the reports Robert had shown me that Sterling was frequently late on deliveries and that their quality control had been slipping for years. The client was unhappy, but they stayed because finding a new manufacturer was a hassle. I decided to make it less of a hassle for them. I put together an anonymous but very detailed dossier. It contained Sterling's late delivery statistics, data on their rising product defect rates, and a financial analysis showing their precarious cash flow situation. I sent this package via a secure courier to the head of procurement at the retail chain. I also included a list of 3 alternative, more reliable manufacturers, all companies I had a small silent stake in. I wasn't just sinking Sterling's ship, I was redirecting their lifeboats to my own ports. While these pieces were moving on the corporate chessboard, I handled my personal life. I found a new, larger condo and signed the lease. I scheduled movers for a date 3 weeks after the game night, a day when I knew Jenna and Madison were scheduled to attend an all-day influencer brunch. The final piece of the puzzle was our upcoming wedding. We were just 4 months away. Deposits had been paid, venues booked, a caterer selected. The biggest expense was the venue, a historic hotel ballroom that cost a fortune. I had put down the $50,000 non-refundable deposit from a joint account we had opened for wedding expenses. I called the hotel's event coordinator. I told her that due to unforeseen circumstances, we had to cancel the wedding. She was sympathetic, but reminded me that the deposit was non-refundable. I understand completely, I told her. But I don't want to cancel the booking. I want to change the nature of the event. I told her to convert the booking from a wedding reception to a corporate awards gala for one of my companies. The date would remain the same. The budget would remain the same. The name on the contract, which was mine, would remain the same. Instead of the Jenna and Alex wedding, the event was now the Vanguard Capital Annual Achievement Gala. With all the traps set, I just had to wait. Jenna remained blissfully unaware. She was more concerned with picking out flower arrangements and arguing with Madison about what color the bridesmaids' dresses should be. One evening, she came home with a stack of wedding magazines. She tossed them on the coffee table and sighed. "It's all so much work," she said. "Sometimes I think you don't appreciate the effort I'm putting into planning our future." I just looked at her and nodded. "I'm sure it's very stressful," I said. The beautiful, oblivious architect of her own destruction. The pieces were all in place. The system was primed for collapse. Update 2. The first sign of trouble in paradise reached Robert about 10 days after my meeting with Apex Materials. I know this because Jenna came home one evening in a state of high anxiety. Apparently, her father had called her in a rage. Apex had sent the official termination letter. Robert, according to Jenna, was losing his mind. He couldn't understand why his old friend would betray him. He was blaming the economy, the government, everything but his own incompetence. "Dad is so stressed," Jenna said, pacing back and forth in the living room. "He said this could be a huge problem for the company. You work in finance. Can you believe this? After 30 years of loyalty." I made some sympathetic noises and told her that business was tough. Inside, I felt the cold satisfaction of a plan unfolding perfectly. Losing Apex meant Sterling's production would grind to a halt in 60 days unless they found a new supplier, which would be nearly impossible at a competitive price on such short notice. A week later, the second bomb dropped. Their biggest client sent a letter, placing their massive account under formal review, due to persistent concerns about supply chain reliability and quality control. The letter cited specific data points that I knew came directly from the dossier I had sent. This time, the panic was real. Robert called a family emergency meeting, and he insisted I be there. I think he genuinely believed my big-shot investor brain could magically fix the problems he had created over decades of mismanagement. The atmosphere at their house was funereal. Robert looked 10 years older. Jenna and her mother were hovering around him, wringing their hands. Robert laid out the situation, his voice shaking with a mixture of anger and fear. "It's a coordinated attack," he declared. "Someone is trying to destroy me." He looked at me, his eyes pleading. "Alex, you understand this world. What do I do?" This was the moment I had been waiting for. I put on my professional face, the one I use in boardrooms. "Robert," I said calmly, "from what you've shown me, the company is facing a catastrophic failure of its core operational pillars. You've lost your primary supplier, and you're about to lose your primary client. Your cash flow is already negative. Frankly, the situation is critical." I spent the next hour walking him through his options, all of which were terrible. He could try to find a new supplier, but it would cost a fortune and take months. He could try to appease the client, but he had no leverage. He needed a massive infusion of capital to modernize his equipment and fix his logistics, but no bank would give him a loan in his current state. Then I laid my own trap. "There is one other option," I said, letting the words hang in the air. "You could seek a private investor, someone who could provide the capital and expertise to turn things around. It would mean giving up a controlling interest in the company, but it would be better than bankruptcy." A flicker of hope appeared in Robert's eyes. "Do you know someone?" he asked. "I might," I said. "Let me make some calls." Of course, the investor I had in mind was me. Not directly, but through a shell corporation I controlled. My plan was never just to destroy them. It was to pick up the pieces for pennies on the dollar. While the business drama was unfolding, my personal exit plan was proceeding on schedule. The Saturday of the influencer brunch arrived. Jenna and Madison left early in the morning, dressed in absurdly expensive outfits, chattering about mimosas and networking. The moment they were gone, my movers arrived. The process was clinical. In 4 hours, every single thing I owned was packed and loaded. I left Jenna's possessions untouched, exactly as they were. But the absence of my things created a stark, hollow feeling in the condo. I left my keys, along with a printed copy of our prenup and a cashier's check for half the value of our shared wedding account on the kitchen island. I also left a 1-page letter. "Jenna, our engagement is over. As you can see, I have moved out. Per our prenuptial agreement, our individual assets remain separate. The enclosed check represents your half of the wedding fund. All other deposits and bookings were made in my name and are now my sole property. Any further communication should be directed to my lawyer. His information is below. Alex." I took one last look around, then left. I drove to my new condo and began unpacking. That evening, I got a string of furious texts from Jenna. She and Madison had come home to a half-empty apartment. She called me a monster, a coward, a thief. She accused me of abandoning her. Madison sent her own series of unhinged messages, threatening to expose me on social media. I read them, took screenshots for my lawyer, and then blocked them both permanently. The silence was golden. The next day, Robert called me, his voice a low growl. "What is this I hear about you leaving my daughter? You can't do this. We have a wedding to plan, and I need your help with the business." "Robert, the engagement is over," I said, my voice cold and final. "And as for the business, my offer to find an investor still stands, but it will be a purely professional arrangement. The price for saving your company will be a 51% ownership stake transferred to the investment group I represent. That is the only offer on the table. You have 48 hours to decide before the offer is withdrawn." I could hear him choking on his own rage on the other end of the line. He had no choice. It was either give up control or watch his father's legacy crumble into dust. The checkmate was in sight. Final update. It has been 3 months since I put my plan into motion. The aftermath was every bit as devastating for them as I designed it to be. Robert, backed into a corner with no other options, accepted my offer. He signed over 51% of Sterling Industries to a holding company, never knowing he was handing the keys to his kingdom directly to me. The day the deal closed, I walked into the Sterling Industries boardroom, introduced myself as the new majority owner, and fired him. I also fired his entire crony management team. The look on his face, a mixture of pure shock and dawning, horrified comprehension, was worth more than any amount of money. I immediately began implementing the turnaround plan I had designed years ago. We renegotiated a new temporary supply deal with Apex, ironically, at a much higher cost to the company, which I was happy to pay in the short term. I personally flew out to meet with the leadership of their big retail client. I showed them my comprehensive plan to fix the quality control and logistics issues, and I offered them a discount for 6 months as a show of good faith. They agreed to keep their account. The company, under my control, was saved. In a year, I expect it to be twice as profitable. In 2 years, I'll sell it for a 9-figure sum. The fallout in their personal lives was just as complete. Without my financial support, Jenna's world collapsed. She couldn't afford the rent on our old condo and was forced to move back in with her parents. Her father, stripped of his title and his company, had a complete breakdown. The big family house is now on the market to cover their massive debts. Jenna's social life imploded. Madison and her other friends were not interested in hanging out with someone who couldn't afford brunch. Their friendship was transactional, and the transaction was over. Madison tried to run a smear campaign against me online, but my lawyer sent her a cease and desist letter so aggressive that she deleted her entire account in a panic. About a month after I left, I started getting the calls. First from Jenna's mother, pleading with me to be reasonable, to take Robert back, to talk to Jenna. Then from Jenna herself, leaving long, tearful voicemails. She was sorry. She made a terrible mistake. She loved me. It was all just a joke. She didn't mean it. The usual script. They finally convinced a family friend to reach out to me, asking if I would just talk to her again. I agreed to one final meeting. We met at a neutral coffee shop. Jenna and Robert were there. They looked awful, defeated. Robert spoke first. He apologized. He said he was wrong, that he had misjudged me. He begged me to give him some kind of rollback at the company, even just as a consultant. Then Jenna spoke. She cried. She said she was lost without me. She asked if there was any chance we could start over. She said she would do anything. I let them finish. Then I took a sip of my coffee and looked them both in the eye. "You seem to be under a misapprehension," I said. "You think this was about my feelings being hurt. You think this is something an apology can fix. It's not." I turned to Robert. "This was a business transaction. I saw a failing asset, and I planned to acquire it. Your disrespect simply proved you were an unreliable partner, so I switched from a friendly merger to a hostile takeover. You didn't lose your company because I was angry. You lost it because you were a bad CEO." Then I turned to Jenna. "And you? You weren't my fiancé. You were my cost of acquisition. You were the price I was willing to pay to get access to the real prize. But your comment at that game night revealed a fundamental flaw in the asset. You had no value as a partner. You were a bad investment. So I cut my losses." I stood up from the table. The color had completely drained from their faces. They were staring at me as if I were a complete stranger, and in a way, I was. They had never actually seen me before, only the role I was playing. "I hope you both learn from this," I said, leaving a $20 bill on the table for the coffee. "Always know the true value of your assets, and never, ever underestimate your competition." I walked out and never looked back. The last I heard, Robert and his wife were moving into a small rental, and Jenna had gotten some low-level office job. They lost everything: their company, their house, their social standing. My girlfriend texted, "I'm bringing my ex to your family's Thanksgiving. He has nowhere to go. Deal with it." I replied, "I'll let them know." Then I told my family I wasn't coming and booked a vacation instead. When she showed up alone and had to explain why I wasn't there. Original post: I, 29 male, got the text last Monday, 5 days before Thanksgiving. My girlfriend Ashley, 27, and I had been together for 2.5 years. She'd been to 3 family holidays already. My parents loved her, called her their future daughter-in-law. Made me promise to bring her this year. The text came while I was at work. Hey babe, Trevor's having a rough time. His family disowned him after the thing with his stepmom. Long story. He literally has nowhere to go for Thanksgiving. I told him he could come with us to your parents. I know it's awkward, but I can't let him spend it alone. We're adults. We can handle this. Deal with it. Trevor. Her ex of 4 years who she remained friends with because they ended on good terms and shared a friend group. The same Trevor who'd been texting her more lately about his depression. The same Trevor who coincidentally started having all these life crises the moment Ashley and I got serious. I stared at the message for a solid minute, then typed back, "I'll let them know." She sent back heart emojis and "Knew you'd understand, babe." I didn't text my family that Ashley was bringing Trevor. I texted them something else entirely. "Hey mom, something came up with work. Emergency server migration that has to happen over the holiday weekend. I won't make it to Thanksgiving. Ashley might still come though." Mom was disappointed but understanding. "Oh honey, that's terrible. But Ashley's still welcome, of course. We already bought her favorite wine." Then I did something I'd been wanting to do for months. Opened my laptop, went to a travel site, and booked a 5-day trip to Cancun. Left Wednesday night, came back Sunday. Used the money I'd been saving for Ashley's Christmas present, some designer purse she'd been dropping hints about. Turned off my phone's read receipts. Watched her texts come in over the next few days. Tuesday, what should Trevor wear? Casual or dress up? Wednesday morning, picking up the pies. Trevor's actually excited to meet your family. Wednesday afternoon, why aren't you answering? We're leaving in 2 hours. Wednesday evening, your phone must be dead. See you there. Then nothing until Thursday at 2 p.m. That's when the storm hit. Update 1, the Thanksgiving massacre. Got back from Cancun Sunday night, tanned and relaxed. Had 73 messages waiting. Not gonna lie, reading them on the beach with a margarita was pretty satisfying. The breakdown started Thursday afternoon. First from Ashley, "Where are you? Your mom says you're not coming? She says you have to work? You didn't tell me? I'm here with Trevor, alone. This is so embarrassing. Your dad asked Trevor if he's my boyfriend. Your sister is giving me death stares. Answer your phone." Then the narrative shifted. "Your mom wants to know why you didn't tell me you weren't coming. I had to explain, you knew I was coming. Now she's asking why Trevor is here. I told them you said it was fine. Your mom is calling you. Your dad looks pissed. Trevor wants to leave. This is your fault." My sister Megan, 25F, filled me in later. Apparently Ashley showed up at 1 p.m. with Trevor in tow, all smiles, carrying pies. Mom answered the door expecting just Ashley. "Oh, who's this?" Mom asked. "This is Trevor. My friend. Tom said it was okay." Mom's face apparently went through several stages of confusion. "Tom's not coming, dear. He has to work. Didn't he tell you?" The color drained from Ashley's face. She tried to recover, saying I must have forgotten to mention the work thing, but she'd already told Mom that I knew she was coming. The math wasn't mathing. They still invited them in because my parents are polite, but dinner was awkward. Dad grilled Trevor, literally and figuratively. Asked him about his job, unemployed, his living situation, couch surfing, how long he dated Ashley, 4 years, why they broke up. He cheated. Ashley hadn't mentioned that part. The best part? My Aunt Carol, who has zero filter after wine, asked Ashley point blank, "So you brought your ex-boyfriend to meet your current boyfriend's family, but your current boyfriend isn't here? That's interesting." Trevor apparently tried to make conversation about football. Nobody in my family watches football. He ate 3 plates of food, took leftovers, and kept calling my mom Mrs. T, which she hates. Ashley kept checking her phone and making excuses. Tom's probably just busy with the server thing. But Megan said she looked ready to cry. They left after 2 hours. Mom sent me a text that night. "We need to talk about Ashley. Call me when you get this." Update 2, the return. I got back Sunday night. Didn't tell Ashley I was back, just posted a single photo on Instagram of the sunset from my hotel with the caption, "Sometimes you need to step back to see things clearly." Ashley saw it within minutes. The calls started immediately. I let them go to voicemail while I unpacked. Finally answered on the 5th call. "Where were you?" She was screaming. "Cancun. Good trip. How was Thanksgiving?" "Are you serious right now? You left me alone with Trevor at your family's house." "I told you I'd let them know. I let them know I wouldn't be there." "That's not what you said. You said you'd tell them about Trevor." "No, you said Trevor was coming in to deal with it, so I dealt with it. By not being there. You humiliated me. You humiliated yourself by bringing your ex to my family's Thanksgiving without actually asking me. I told you he had nowhere to go. That's not my problem, or it wasn't until you tried to make it my problem. You're such a child, running away instead of dealing with things like an adult. Adults don't ambush their partners with their ex-boyfriends. Adults have conversations and respect boundaries." She went quiet for a moment. Then, "Your mom thinks I'm trash now." "What did you expect? You showed up with your ex instead of me." Trevor was mortified. "Good. You're an asshole." "Maybe, but I'm an asshole who had a great Thanksgiving on the beach instead of watching my girlfriend's ex eat my mom's turkey." She hung up. Monday morning, she showed up at my apartment. I was getting ready for work. She had a key, but I'd put the chain on, so she couldn't get all the way in. "Let me in. We need to talk." "We can talk like this." "Tom, stop being ridiculous." "I'm being ridiculous? You literally told me your ex was coming to my family's Thanksgiving and to deal with it." "I was trying to be a good friend. To Trevor. What about being a good girlfriend to me?" "You abandoned me. You replaced me with your ex at my own family's dinner table." She started crying. "You don't understand. Trevor's been through so much. His stepmom accused him of stealing from them. His dad took her side. Still not my problem. You're heartless." "No, I just have boundaries." "Your family probably hates me now." "Yeah, they do. My mom called you that tacky girl who brought her ex to Thanksgiving. My dad said you have no class. Megan thinks you're either cheating or stupid." More tears. "How could you do this to me?" "Ashley, you did this to yourself. You made a unilateral decision about my family's holiday. You told me to deal with it like I'm some doormat you can walk over. So I dealt with it my way. By running away to Mexico, by removing myself from a situation you created without my consent. We're supposed to be a team. Teams make decisions together. You made this decision alone." She tried a different approach. "Look, I'm sorry, okay? I should have asked, but what you did was worse. You humiliated me in front of your entire family. No, you humiliated yourself by showing up with Trevor. I just wasn't there to witness it." Update 3. The escalation. After Monday's confrontation, Ashley went nuclear. Full scorched earth campaign. First, she called my mom directly. Mom told me about it later. "Tom's mom? This is Ashley. I want to apologize for Thanksgiving and explain. Tom and I had a miscommunication. He was supposed to tell you about Trevor coming, but he must have forgotten because of work stress. You know how men are with details." Mom's response. "Ashley, Tom told me on Monday he wasn't coming. You showed up Thursday saying he knew you were coming. There was no miscommunication. You lied." Ashley tried to recover. "I didn't mean. And bringing your ex-boyfriend to a family holiday, without clearing it with anyone? That's incredibly disrespectful. Trevor had nowhere else to go." "That's not our problem, dear. And frankly, after meeting him, I can see why his family wants nothing to do with him." Ashley hung up on my mother. Then came the social media offensive. She posted on Facebook. "When you try to be a compassionate person and help someone in need, but your boyfriend is too insecure to handle it. Spent Thanksgiving getting interrogated by his family while he was nowhere to be found. Some people's true colors really show during the holidays." Her friends rallied. "Men are so fragile. You deserve better, hun. He sounds controlling." My sister Megan saw it and commented, "Compassionate? You brought your ex to someone else's family dinner without permission. Tom wasn't insecure, he was smart. #Team Tom." Ashley deleted Megan's comment, but screenshots were already circulating in our family group chat. Then Trevor decided to insert himself. "This absolute moron sent me a DM. Bro, what you did was messed up. Ashley was just trying to help me out, and you made it weird. Grow up." I responded, "The unemployed guy who mooched 3 plates of food from my family is telling me to grow up?" You spent Thanksgiving eating food bought by strangers because even your own family won't deal with you. Maybe focus on getting your life together instead of texting your ex-girlfriend's boyfriend. He blocked me. Good riddance. Wednesday rolled around and Ashley tried another tactic. She showed up at my work at lunch with a bag from my favorite sandwich place. Can we please just talk? I brought lunch. Ashley, you need to leave? 5 minutes, please. Security was already looking over. I didn't want a scene. 5 minutes, outside. We sat on a bench in the plaza. She unpacked the food like everything was normal. I've been thinking, she started. We both made mistakes. I should have asked about Trevor. You should have communicated better. We can move past this. No? Ashley, you don't get it. This isn't about Trevor. It's about you thinking you can make unilateral decisions about my life and my family. It's about you telling me to deal with it like my opinion doesn't matter. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it then? Trevor was so sad. His family situation is horrible. I wanted to help. By volunteering my family's holiday? I thought you'd understand. You're usually so easygoing. And there it was. She thought I was a pushover. Easygoing doesn't mean doormat, Ashley. I know that. Do you? Because you've been making decisions for both of us for months. Where we eat, who we hang out with, what we do on weekends. And I've gone along with it because I wanted to make you happy. But volunteering my family's Thanksgiving for your ex? That's where I draw the line. So you're breaking up with me over this? I'm breaking up with you because you don't respect me. The Thanksgiving thing just made it crystal clear. She started crying again. But I love you. You love having me around. There's a difference. Update 4, the extinction level event. After the breakup conversation, things got weird. And by weird, I mean psycho. Thursday night, Ashley's best friend Brittany called me. You need to take Ashley back. No, I don't. She's a mess. She hasn't eaten in days. I literally saw her eating a sandwich yesterday. She's heartbroken. She brought her ex to my family's Thanksgiving. To help a friend in need. God, why are men so insecure? Brittany, if your boyfriend brought his ex-girlfriend to your family's Thanksgiving without asking, you'd lose your mind. That's different. How? She couldn't answer and hung up. Friday morning, I woke up to notifications that Ashley had tagged me in about 20 old photos on Instagram with captions like, "Remember when we were happy?" And "Before your ego ruined everything," and "Guess your family means more than our love." I untagged myself and blocked her. Then came the real psycho move. She called my work and told HR she was concerned about my mental health. Said I'd disappeared for 5 days without telling anyone and was acting erratically. HR called me in. "Tom, we received a concerning call about your well-being." I explained the situation, showed them my pre-approved PTO request for the Thanksgiving holiday. Showed them the texts where Ashley demanded I accept her ex at Thanksgiving. Showed them her social media posts. HR lady looked tired. "So this is a bad breakup?" "Very bad. We'll make a note. If she calls again, we'll consider it harassment." But Ashley wasn't done. Saturday afternoon, she showed up at my parents' house with Trevor. Mom called me immediately. "That girl is at my door with that boy. Don't let them in." Wasn't planning on it. Mom put me on speaker so I could hear Mrs. T. I wanted to apologize in person and explain everything. "There's nothing to explain. Please leave. We just want to make things right. Get off my porch before I call the cops. This is all a misunderstanding. Tom overreacted and Tom reacted appropriately to you disrespecting him and our family. You brought your ex-boyfriend to our Thanksgiving. What kind of person does that?" "Ashley, compassionate person." Dad came outside. "You want to know what I think? I think you're still hung up on this loser and you used our holiday to test the waters." Tom saw right through it. "Hey, I'm not a loser. Son, you're 28, unemployed, homeless, and following your ex-girlfriend to her current boyfriend's family events. You're the definition of a loser." Ashley started crying. "You don't understand. Tom and I were meant to be together." "Mom, were you meant to be together when you brought Trevor? Because that's not how relationships work, sweetheart." They finally left after Dad actually did call the police. The cops didn't arrest anyone, but told Ashley and Trevor they'd be trespassed if they returned. Final update. The aftermath. It's been 3 weeks since Thanksgiving. Here's where everyone ended up. Ashley sent one last email to my personal account. It was a novel-length manifesto about how I ruined her reputation and turned everyone against her, and chose my family over our love. She demanded I reimburse her for the Thanksgiving pies she brought, $60, the gas to drive to my parents' house, $20, and the emotional distress I caused, no dollar amount, just that I owed her compensation. I replied with a Venmo request for $90, the commission I lost taking PTO for the Cancun trip. She blocked me on Venmo. She also tried to get our mutual friends on her side, organized a whole dinner to tell her version of events. From what I heard, it backfired. Our friend Janet asked, "Wait, so you brought Trevor without asking Tom first?" When Ashley tried to explain about compassion in the holidays, Janet said, "Girl, that's insane. I'd have dumped you too." Apparently, half the friend group sided with me, the other half stayed neutral. Nobody fully took Ashley's side, except Brittany, and even she admitted privately that bringing Trevor was probably not the best move. Trevor posted some weird philosophical Instagram story about knowing your worth and not letting others dim your light. Dude, you crashed someone else's family Thanksgiving. What light? Ashley started dating Trevor again 2 weeks after we broke up. Or maybe they never stopped. Don't know, don't care. Brittany let it slip that Trevor's been living with Ashley in her studio apartment, the same studio apartment she always complained was too small for one person. My family? They're already legendary in our extended family for the Thanksgiving when Tom's girlfriend brought her ex. My cousin made it her Twitter story and got 50K likes. Mom framed the security footage of Dad telling Trevor he's a loser. Megan made "Trevor's not invited" her Wi-Fi password. Christmas just passed. My parents made a point of texting me, "Just family this year, right?" Mom also added, "Though if you want to bring someone appropriate, that's fine too." Me? I'm good. Better than good, actually. That Cancun trip cleared my head. Realized I'd been accepting way too much BS in the name of keeping the peace. Ashley thinking she could just dictate terms about my family's holiday was just the final straw. Started dating someone new after New Year's. Her name's Diana, met her at the gym. When I told her the Thanksgiving story, she laughed so hard she nearly fell off the treadmill. Then said, "Wait, she actually brought him to your family's dinner? Without asking? That's sociopathic." I asked her what she'd have done. "Same as you, except I'd have gone to Europe. Cancun's too close." I think I'll keep this one. Oh, and final kicker, got a LinkedIn notification last week. Trevor viewed my profile, then viewed it again an hour later, then Ashley viewed it. They're checking up on me. I updated my job title to Senior Systems Analyst, thankful for boundaries, just for them. Looking back, the whole thing was a gift. Ashley showed me exactly who she was, someone who thought her wants mattered more than my needs, my family, or basic respect. The fact that she brought her ex to Thanksgiving wasn't the relationship ender. It was the deal with it that killed us. Those 3 words told me everything I needed to know about how she saw me. To anyone in a similar situation, when someone shows you they don't respect you, believe them. Don't argue, don't negotiate, don't try to fix them. Just protect yourself and let them face the consequences of their choices. Ashley wanted me to deal with it, so I did. Just not the way she expected. Trevor had nowhere to go for Thanksgiving? Well, now they can spend every Thanksgiving together. In Ashley's tiny studio apartment. Eating takeout because Trevor can't cook and Ashley burns water. That's what we call a happy ending. P.S. My mom still refers to Ashley as that tacky girl with the ex-boyfriend. Dad calls Trevor leftover boy because he took 3 containers of food home. Megan suggested we make it an annual tradition to toast to Tom's boundaries at Thanksgiving dinner. We did it this year. Even my 80-year-old grandmother raised her glass and said, "That girl had some balls, but our Tom had bigger ones." I love my family. She texted, "I'm keeping the ring but marrying him. Thanks for the down payment on my new life." I responded, "You're welcome." Her screaming voicemail when she learned the ring was fake and the chaos that followed was legendary. I, 29 male, was with Melanie for 4 years. We'd been engaged for 6 months when everything imploded. Looking back, the red flags were doing a whole ass parade, but love makes you colorblind, right? Met her at a friend's birthday party. She was bartending, flirting with everyone for tips, But somehow I thought I was special when she slipped me her number. First few months were incredible. She was fun, spontaneous, always planning adventures. Moved in together after 8 months. That's when little things started. She'd forget her wallet constantly. Her car was always breaking down right when rent was due. Her hours got cut at work, but she still had money for girls' nights and new clothes. I covered for her because that's what partners do, right? My IT job paid well enough. The proposal happened last February. Spent $12K on the ring, 2 months' salary like they say. She posted it everywhere, planned this massive wedding, invited 200 people. I was stressed about costs, but she kept saying, "We only get married once, baby." Then Diego entered the picture. Her new personal trainer at the gym. Suddenly she's doing 2-a-days, coming home glowing, talking about how Diego really gets her fitness journey. I made one joke about her spending more time with him than me, and she lost it. "You're insecure about my success. Diego's helping me become my best self, and you can't handle it." 2 weeks ago, I came home early with food poisoning. Her car was in the driveway, but the house was empty. Found her gym bag, though, with a pregnancy test box inside. Positive test in the bathroom trash. I sat on our bed for an hour, doing math in my head. We hadn't been intimate in 5 weeks. She'd been too stressed with wedding planning. That evening, she came home humming. I asked about her day. "Just wedding stuff with mom." "Cool. Her mom lives 3 hours away." "Hey babe," I said, "found something interesting in the bathroom." Her face went through like 6 expressions before landing on defensive. "You went through my trash?" "The pregnancy test, Mel. I wanted to surprise you." "We haven't had sex in over a month." The silence was loud. Then she started crying, but not sad tears, angry ones. "Fine. You want the truth? I'm pregnant with Diego's baby. And you know what? I'm keeping it. I'm marrying him, but I'm also keeping this ring because I earned it putting up with your boring ass for 4 years. I laughed. Actually laughed. Earned it? 4 years of pretending your comic book collection was cool. 4 years of your friends' stupid game nights. 4 years of mediocre sex. Yeah, I earned this ring. Consider it compensation. She grabbed her overnight bag, started throwing clothes in. "Diego's waiting outside. My brother's coming tomorrow for my stuff. And Jake, thanks for the down payment on my new life. This ring will cover a nice honeymoon." She actually strutted out. Posted a selfie with Diego an hour later. Finally free to be with my soulmate. I sat there, numb, then called my jeweler friend Tommy. Update 1. Tommy answered on the second ring. "Yo, what's up? Remember that ring I bought from you? The cushion cut?" "Yeah, beautiful piece." "The one you said looked exactly like the real thing?" He paused. "The moissanite, bro? Yeah, impossible to tell without equipment." "Why?" "She's keeping it. Thinks it's worth $12K. Tommy whistled low. "It's worth maybe $800. Beautiful stone, but can you write up an appraisal? The real details?" "Give me an hour." While waiting, I went through our apartment. Found 3 pregnancy books hidden in her closet. Receipts for prenatal vitamins from 6 weeks ago. Girl had been planning this. Also found a draft email to her friends about how she was trading up and securing the bag with the ring. Her brother Dominic showed up next morning with 2 friends and a U-Haul. Tried to take the TV, the couch, my gaming setup. "Nah, man," I said. "She can have her clothes and personal stuff. Everything else is mine. I have receipts." "She said you agreed to split everything." I pulled out my phone, showed him her text. "I'm keeping the ring but marrying him. Thanks for the down payment on my new life." "Where does that mention furniture?" Dominic got aggressive. "Look, she's pregnant. Don't be a dick." With her trainer's baby, while engaged to me. Who's the dick here? They took her stuff and left, but not before Dominic tried to grab my PS5. She said this was hers. Unless she has a receipt, no. You're really being petty over a gaming console? It's the principle, like keeping an engagement ring when you cheat. Speaking of which, I forwarded Tommy's appraisal to Melanie, the real one. 20 minutes later, my phone exploded. Update 2, 37 missed calls. I counted. Then the voicemail. "You lying piece of shit. Fake? The ring is fake? I showed this to everyone. I had it appraised at..." "Wait, hold on. What do you mean it's moissanite? I want the real ring. You owe me the real ring." Then texts. "That's fraud. You're a con artist. I'm calling the police. Diego's coming over there. You can't give someone fake jewelry and not tell them." I'm suing you. I responded once. You're welcome for the down payment on your new life. All $800 of it. Diego showed up that evening. Full tough guy mode, tribal tattoos and tank top, looking like a discount Jason Momoa. Yo bro, we need to talk about that ring. No we don't. You scammed her. That's messed up. I gave my fiancée a ring. She decided to keep it after cheating. How's that my problem? Because you lied about the value. Show me where I said it was worth $12K. I'll wait. He couldn't, because I never did. I just let her assume when she saw the jewelry store box. Look man, Diego shifted tactics. She's pregnant with my kid. That ring was supposed to help us start our family. Maybe you should have thought about that before banging another man's fiancée? It just happened. 6 weeks of pregnancy just happened? Bro, I can do math. He left, but not before saying, this isn't over. Melanie's mom called next. Patricia was always extra. How dare you give my daughter fake jewelry? She's humiliated. She's humiliated because she cheated and got pregnant by her trainer. That's not the point. It's exactly the point. She showed that ring to everyone, posted it online. Her friends think she's lying now. So she's embarrassed because people know the truth? Sounds like a her problem. You're a small petty man, and your daughter's a cheater who tried to steal $12K from me. Guess we all have our flaws. She hung up. But the best part? Melanie had already taken the ring to 3 jewelers trying to sell it. Each one told her the same thing. Beautiful stone, not a diamond, worth under $1,000. Update 3. The entitlement escalated to absurd levels. Melanie tried to file a police report for theft by deception. The officer literally laughed. She posted about it on Facebook. Went to the police about my ex scamming me with fake jewelry, and they said it's a civil matter. The system protects con artists. Comments were brutal. Girl, you cheated on him and kept the ring. This is karma and it's delicious. Team ex-fiancé, blah. Her best friend Ashley messaged me, just give her money for a real ring. She's pregnant and stressed. She's pregnant by another man. How's that my responsibility? You were together 4 years, and she was banging Diego for how long? That's different. How? She was finding herself. She found herself under her personal trainer. Not my problem anymore. Then came the masterpiece. Melanie created an invoice. An actual PDF invoice for services rendered 2020 to 2024, including emotional labor, $50,000, relationship management, $30,000, physical intimacy, $25,000, domestic duties, $15,000, dealing with subpar proposal, $10,000, total, $130,000. Will accept $12,000 for real ring as settlement. I sent it to my group chat. The boys had a field day. My buddy Connor made it his phone wallpaper. Bro, she invoiced you for sex. This is legendary. But I wasn't done. See, Melanie forgot something important. She was still on my Netflix, Spotify, Disney+, HBO Max, everything. Girl had been mooching streaming services for years. I changed every password. Cut her phone from my family plan. Yeah, she was still on that too. Removed her card from my Amazon Prime. The meltdown was immediate. Are you serious? I'm watching Bridgerton. How am I supposed to get my packages? The baby needs music for development. That last one killed me. The baby needs Spotify Premium for development? Diego messaged, bro, just put her back on Netflix, it's $20. If $20 is nothing, you pay for it. It's the principle. You were together for years. Exactly, it's the principle. Update 4. The wedding invites went out. Melanie and Diego beach ceremony requesting monetary gifts for our growing family. She also sent one to me, hand-delivered by her cousin with a note, hope you can be happy for me. M. The audacity was astronomical. Her cousin waited while I read it. So, will you come? To my ex's wedding to the guy she cheated with, where she's pregnant with his baby, wearing the fake ring I gave her? When you put it like that, tell her I'm busy that day. You don't even know what day it is. I'm busy every day she's getting married. But here's where it gets good. Remember that $800 ring? Turns out Diego had plans for it. He was going to pawn it to help pay for the wedding. Took it to a pawn shop, made a scene when they offered him $400. This is a $12K ring. Sir, it's moissanite. My fiancé said it's real. Your fiancé was misinformed. He called me from the parking lot. You sabotaged us. How? By not correcting her assumption? You knew she thought it was real. She also thought I'd be cool with her cheating. People think wrong things sometimes. We need money for the wedding. Get a second job? I'm a personal trainer. I work all day. Apparently not all day since you had time to bang my fiancé. He hung up, but Melanie wasn't done. She tried a new approach, mutual friends. Our friend group split pretty naturally. Most sided with me because, she cheated. But a few tried to play peacemaker. Tessa called, "Look, what she did was wrong, but the fake ring thing was cruel." Cruel? I bought my girlfriend a beautiful ring. Not my fault, she's too materialistic to appreciate it, unless it costs 5 figures. But you let her believe. She let me believe she was faithful. We all believed things. 2 wrongs don't make a right. No, but her cheating, getting pregnant, keeping the ring, trying to claim my furniture, demanding money, and sending me a wedding invite makes like 7 wrongs. I'm still behind. Then came the extinction burst, learned that term from Reddit. Melanie showed up at my office, pregnant, crying, full performance. "Please, I just need enough for a small ceremony, for the baby." My coworkers were watching. She knew it. "Mel, you need to leave. You loved me. 4 years, and you threw it away for a guy with abs." I made a mistake. Getting pregnant by another man isn't a mistake. It's a choice. Multiple choices, actually. Security escorted her out. She posted about it. "Got thrown out of my ex's workplace for asking for help. Men are trash." Someone commented, "Didn't you cheat on him?" She deleted the post. Update 5. The wedding was in 2 weeks. Melanie was desperate. The venue wanted payment. She'd maxed out her cards on the dress, and that $800 ring wasn't buying anybody's honeymoon. Her brother Dominic reached out. "Look, man, I know she messed up, but she's my sister. Can you at least sell her the real ring at a discount?" "What real ring?" "The actual diamond you obviously have hidden somewhere." "Dom, there is no real ring. I bought moissanite because I was smart enough not to spend $12K on jewelry. Nobody buys fake engagement rings. I bought what I could afford while still looking nice. That's called being responsible." "So you never loved her?" "Buying a cheaper ring means I didn't love her? But her banging Diego while wearing it means what exactly?" He didn't have an answer. But Melanie had one last card to play. She went to my mom. Called her up crying, "I made a mistake, but I always loved your son. The baby needs a father figure." Mom called me. "That girl contacted me. And I told her the baby has a father, that trainer she cheated with." "Thanks, Ma. Also told her you were raised better than to take back cheaters. Love you too." She asked if I had any jewelry she could have. She what? Said something about family heirlooms being appropriate since she was almost family. The balls on this woman. Diego, meanwhile, was learning what he'd signed up for. Mutual friends reported he was working 3 jobs to pay for the wedding. Melanie quit her bartending job because she was too pregnant to stand. She was 4 months along. He messaged me again. "Bro, can I ask you something?" "What?" "Was she always like this?" "Like what?" "Expensive." I sent him a screenshot of my credit card statements from our relationship. $6,000 in random purchases over the last year alone. Holy shit. Yeah, how did you afford it? "I make good money and lived cheap. You?" I took out a loan. "For the wedding?" "For everything. The wedding, baby stuff, her new car." "She got a new car?" Said she needed something safe for the baby. This dude took out a $40K loan for a woman he'd been officially dating for less than a month. "Diego, run." "I can't. She's pregnant." "That's not a reason to go bankrupt. You don't understand. Her family's already planning everything. Her mom put deposits down." "With what money?" "Mine." Update 6. 3 days before the wedding, the venue canceled. Turns out Diego's loan didn't go through completely. His credit was trash. Melanie called me screaming. "You did this! How could I tank Diego's credit? You know people. You work in IT. I fix computers, not FICO scores. We're going to be homeless. You have an apartment. Diego's moving in and we need bigger. So get a job? I'm pregnant." "Millions of pregnant women work. You're not special." She hung up and did what she does best, posted on social media. But this time she messed up. She tagged Diego's other girlfriend. Yeah, another girlfriend. Turns out our boy Diego wasn't just training Melanie. He had a whole side situation with another client, Becca, who thought she was his main girl. Becca was unhappy. The Facebook war was incredible. Becca posted screenshots of texts from Diego from the same days he was with Melanie. pictures of them together, plans they'd made. Melanie tried damage control. She's obsessed with my man. Becca responded with receipts, Venmo payments to Diego labeled for last night, dated when Melanie thought he was at the gym. I made popcorn and watched it unfold. Diego tried calling me. Bro, I'm fucked. Yeah, you are. Mel's throwing my stuff out. Where's Becca? Also throwing my stuff out. Where you gonna go? I don't know. Can I crash? Absolutely not. Come on, bras before. You banged my fiancé, we're not bros. The wedding was obviously off. Patricia Mel's mom called me again. This is your fault. How is Diego cheating on your daughter with another woman? My fault. If you'd just been a man and taken her back, she'd still be pregnant with another man's baby? You're vindictive. I'm living my life. Your daughter keeps dragging me into her drama. She needs closure. She got closure when she left me for him. Update 7. Post-canceled wedding was a disaster. Melanie lost the deposits, about $8K of Diego's loan money. Diego was couch surfing. Becca keyed his car. But Melanie wasn't done with me yet. She applied for unemployment saying I fired her. Problem, I never employed her. She put me as her previous employer, thinking she could claim emotional distress or some shit. Unemployment office called me. Sir, did you employ Melanie Rodriguez? No. She listed you as, I was her ex-fiancé, never her employer. She's claiming wrongful termination. From being engaged, that's called a breakup. The unemployment guy actually laughed. We'll mark this as fraudulent. She got flagged in the system. Then came the small claims court summons. She was suing me for 1. The real engagement ring, $12,000. 2. Emotional damages, $10,000. 3. Lost wedding opportunities, $8,000. Total $30,000. My lawyer friend looked at it and laughed. She has no case. Show up, bring receipts. This'll be done in 20 minutes. Court Melanie showed up looking rough. Diego wasn't there. They were done. She was now 5 months pregnant, living with her mom, working at a gas station. Judge asked her to present her case. Your Honor, he gave me a fake ring. Do you have proof he told you it was real? Well, no, but do you have any written agreement about the ring's value? No, but everyone knows. Ma'am, did you keep the ring after ending the engagement? Yes. Why? Because I earned it. Judge looked at me. Sir? I bought a moissanite ring for $800. Have the receipt. She assumed it was diamond. When she cheated and left, she kept it. Now she's mad it's not worth what she imagined. Judge looked at receipts, her texts admitting to cheating, the invoice she sent me. I brought that for fun. Ma'am, you have no case. Dismissed. But the judge wasn't done. Also, ma'am, traditionally, if an engagement ends due to infidelity by the recipient, the ring should be returned. He could countersue for the ring back. Melanie went pale. What? I stood up. Your Honor, I'd like to countersue for my ring back. You gave it to me as a promise of marriage, which you broke. I'd like my $800 ring back, please. Judge granted it. Melanie had 30 days to return the ring or pay me $800. Final update. She tried to return a different ring, a cubic zirconia piece from Target. I had Tommy verify it wasn't mine. This isn't the ring I gave you. Prove it. I pulled out photos from her Instagram. The setting's different. Try again. She claimed she lost it. Judge said pay the $800 then. She refused. Her wages got garnished. $50 a month from her gas station job. Last I heard, Diego's trying to get back with Becca. Melanie's living with her mom, and she had the baby. Named it Destiny, which feels appropriate. She messaged me last month, I hope you're happy. You ruined my life. No, you ruined your life. I just didn't save you from the consequences. I could have been a good wife to you. You were literally pregnant with another man's baby. I would have said it was yours. That's worse. You get that's worse, right? She blocked me. Finally, Tommy still has the moissanite ring story as his go-to customer tale. My mom refers to this as the time you outsmarted that trollop. My friends call it the great ring sting. Me, I'm doing fine. Dating a nice woman from my book club who thinks the whole story is hilarious. She actually asked to see the receipts because she didn't believe someone would invoice their ex for emotional labor. Showed her the PDF. She laughed so hard she cried. Frame this. So I did. It's in my home office. Reminder that sometimes the best revenge is just letting people face the consequences of their own entitlement. And buying moissanite. Always buy moissanite. My girlfriend embezzled funds and said, "You're too soft to do anything about it." I replied, "Watch me." Then I sent the evidence to the IRS. Her hard stance dissolved in the interrogation room. I, 39 male, always thought soft was a compliment. It's what my girlfriend Corinne, 35, called me. "You're a good man, Simon," she'd say. "So soft. You see the best in people." We own a business together, or we did. It's a community bookstore and cafe called The Page and Perch. It was my dream. I'm the page part. I handle the community events, the author signings, the kids' story hour. I'm the face. Corinne is the perch. She handles the numbers, the payroll, the ordering, the hard side of the business. I trusted her with it completely. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm a books guy. I thought we were doing okay. Not rich, but paying the bills. We were a beloved local spot. Then, 2 weeks ago, I got a call from Flower Power, the local bakery that supplies our pastries. Anya, the owner, sounded stressed. "Simon, I'm really sorry," she said, "but Corinne's last 3 checks bounced. We're talking almost $4,000. I can't extend any more credit." Bounced? I was confused. We just had a stellar sales weekend. I told Anya I'd look into it and cover it personally. Corinne was supposedly at a Women in Business leadership retreat. She'd been going to a lot of those. I'm soft, not stupid. I just hate confrontation. So I didn't call her. I logged into the business accounts. I have access. I just never use it. I stared at the screen for an hour. It wasn't just Flower Power, our main book distributor, our coffee bean supplier, all late. But the money? The money was gone. Not just low, but gone. And it was going in huge round numbers to one place. A vendor I'd never heard of. Apex Strategic Solutions, LLC. $10,000 in February. $15,000 in April. $8,000 just last week. I scrolled back. For 18 months, Corinne had been siphoning money to this consultant. It totaled over $160,000. I felt cold. The room was spinning. This wasn't a mistake. This was methodical. When Corinne got home 2 days later, I was waiting. She was tan, wearing new, very expensive-looking sunglasses, and carrying a brand-new leather attaché case. "Hey, softy," she smiled, kissing my cheek. "Miss me?" "Who is Apex Strategic Solutions?" I asked. I didn't yell. My voice was flat. Her smile didn't just fade, it snapped off. "What? Apex Strategic Solutions, you've paid them over $160,000. Our bakery checks are bouncing, Corinne. Our book supplier is about to cut us off." "Who are they?" She scoffed. Actually scoffed at me. "Simon, don't worry your pretty little head about it. It's high-level business strategy. It's diversification. It's way over your head." "Over my head?" I said. "It's our money. You're bleeding us dry." "That's not a strategy. That's theft." She dropped the attaché case. The arrogance that followed was breathtaking. She crossed her arms and her whole face hardened into someone I didn't recognize. "You're right. It's theft. And it's my money. I'm the one who makes this business work. You just sit on a stool and read The Very Hungry Caterpillar to snot-nosed kids. I built the infrastructure. I earned that money." You're admitting it?" I was floored. "Yes, I am," she said, leaning in. "And what are you going to do about it, Simon?" "Huh? We're not married. The business partnership agreement is a mess. Are you going to sue me? You don't have the money for a lawyer. You're too soft. You don't have the stomach for a real fight. You'll just get upset, and I'll console you, and you'll get over it. You always do." I just looked at her. The woman I'd loved, the woman I'd planned to. Wow. The hurt was a physical thing, like a kick to the chest, but it was immediately followed by a strange, icy calm. She was right about one thing. I don't have the stomach for a messy public fight, but I'm not soft. I'm methodical. I smiled, a tiny, thin smile. "Watch me." She laughed. "Oh, Simon, you're adorable. Now are you going to make me a welcome home cocktail, or do I have to do that myself too?" She went upstairs to unpack. I went to my office. I stayed up all night. I downloaded everything. Every bank statement, every transfer, every faked invoice. I found those too. She'd been ordering 50 units of books and billing the company for 500, then pocketing the difference before paying the late invoice. I looked up Apex Strategic Solutions LLC. It was a shell corporation registered 18 months ago. The sole registered agent? Her brother, Reed, a guy who sells wealth-building seminars on the internet. So, $160,000 in embezzled funds, sent to a shell corp. This wasn't just theft from me. This was tax fraud. Conspiracy. Embezzled money is undeclared income. I didn't call a lawyer. I didn't call the police. I went to the IRS website. I downloaded Form 210, application for award for original information, the whistleblower program. They pay 5% to 30% of the amount they recover. I meticulously filled out every single line. I attached every downloaded bank statement, every fake invoice, every text message where she mentioned her business trips. I included the LLC registration showing her brother's name. I created a 10-page summary document, complete with a flowchart. I put it all in a large priority mail envelope. Corinne came downstairs the next morning, annoyed. "Ugh, you didn't even make coffee. What is your problem?" I was sealing the envelope, just running an errand. "You're still pouting, aren't you?" she sighed. "So dramatic. Look, I'll find some money in the budget for the bakery, okay? Just get over it. We have a business to run." "Understood," I said. I walked to the post office. I paid for certified mail with return receipt. I dropped the 10-pound envelope onto the scale. The postal worker looked at me, then at the IRS address. "Heavy stuff, man." "You have no idea," I said. "I'm writing this from a hotel room." I packed a bag and left. "She's been texting me for 2 days. Where are you?" "This isn't funny, Simon. Get back here. We need to talk." I'm not soft. I'm not loud. I don't fight. I report. The IRS is slow. I know that. But they're a hell of a lot meaner than I am. Her hard stance won't mean a thing to them. Now I just... Wait. Update 1, it's been 6 weeks, and it's been hell. The good news, I'm not soft. The bad news, I'm not rich either. The moment Corinne realized I was gone for good, and not just pouting at a buddy's house, she went nuclear. I had to get a lawyer, a guy named Ben, who specializes in dissolving business partnerships. The first thing Ben told me was, "This is a mess, Simon. You're gonna lose the business." He was right. The Page and Perch is gone. We're in forced arbitration to dissolve the partnership. The assets are frozen, the doors are locked, the community is heartbroken. That hurts more than the money. I lost my dream. That's the realistic L I had to take. I'm living in a tiny, depressing one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. The legal fees are eating my savings alive. Corinne, meanwhile, is still in our beautiful, jointly leased townhouse, and she's thriving. Or at least, she's acting like it. Her lawyer, who she's paying with my stolen money, is a shark. Their claim? That I am the one who mismanaged the business. That my vanity projects, that's what she calls the Free Kids Story Hour and the local poetry slams, were financially irresponsible and I drove the company into debt. That the $160,000 sent to Apex was a legitimate last-ditch effort to secure liquid capital that I, in my softness, just didn't understand. It's all lies, but it's papered. She has invoices. Fake ones, but they look real. Then came the entitlement, the sheer uncut gall. I got a Venmo request from her 3 weeks ago for $1,750. The memo, "You're half of the rent, idiot." I ignored it. She sent it again and again. Then she called me. I sent her straight to voicemail. Then she emailed me. Subject, "You are going to make me homeless." Simon, I don't know what kind of sick, vindictive game you're playing, but you are still 50% liable for the lease on this townhouse. Your refusal to pay your half is a breach of contract. I am a single woman, and you are trying to make me homeless out of spite. If you don't send your half by the 1st, I'll be taking you to small claims court. Grow up. I just stared at the email. She's sitting on $160 of my money, and she's shaking me down rent. My lawyer told me to ignore it. The lease is a civil matter that will be bundled with the dissolution. But the nerve. Then last Tuesday, the unpredictable subplot showed up. Her brother, Reed, the CEO of Apex Strategic Solutions. I was getting my mail from the rusted box at my new dumpy apartment. A white, entry-level luxury SUV, the kind with 0 personality, pulled up. Reed got out. He's exactly what you'd picture. 2 white teeth, blazer with sneakers, slicked back hair. "Simon, right?" he said, like we were meeting at a mixer. "Reed, we haven't been formally introduced." "I know who you are," I said, holding my junk mail like a shield. "Yeah, look," he said, walking closer. He was trying to be intimidating, crowding my space. "I think you've gotten in a little over your head here. You're a books guy. I get it, you're emotional, but this lawsuit, it's not smart. Get away from my apartment, Reed." He laughed, a short, barking sound. "See, that's what I'm talking about. You're playing hardball, and you're not a hardball player. You're soft, my sister. She's emotional, but I'm not. I'm advising you as a friend to drop this. Sign the business over to Corinne. Take the little payout she's offering. This is a hard world, Simon, and you're going to get really, really hurt if you keep pushing this. My hands were shaking. I'm a common man. This guy was threatening me. But SoftMe had his phone in his shirt pocket, recording audio. Are you threatening me, Reed? I'm advising you, he smiled, but his eyes were dead. It's just advice. Take it. He got back in his car and drove off. I sent the audio file to Ben, my lawyer. Ben smiled. He filed a police report for harassment and intimidation on my behalf. It's just a piece of paper, but it's a start. Then we get the first settlement offer from Corinne's lawyer. It's a joke. I get $10,000, which is less than my legal fees, and I have to sign an ironclad NDA about the business, Corinne, Apex, and Reed. I told Ben to send back a reply. What should I say? He asked. Tell them, no, watch him. Meanwhile, I got a very boring, very thin letter in the mail. It was from the IRS. We have received your submission, case XXX. We are evaluating the information. The gears are turning. I'm terrified. I'm broke. I've lost my business. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. I'm not sleeping. I'm just drinking coffee and waiting. She thinks this is a fight about the business. She doesn't get it. This is a fight about taxes, and that's a fight she can't win. Final update. It's been 10 months since I mailed that envelope. The dissolution of the business was finalized. It was a bloodbath. We sold the assets, the shelves, the espresso machine, the book stock for pennies on the dollar. After paying the debts Corinne ran up, I walked away with nothing. Actually, less than nothing. I'm about $40,000 in legal debt. Corinne and Reed were living large. I know because she couldn't stop posting. Her new venture, funded by Apex, was some kind of life coaching/consulting brand. She was posting selfies from high-end resorts, tagged Boss Babe, growth mindset, know your worth. I got a job, a 9-to-5 data entry gig for a shipping company. It's soul-crushing. I sit in a cubicle, I type numbers, I go home to my crappy apartment. For months I felt defeated. Soft, like she'd won. Then 3 weeks ago I got a call from Anya, the bakery owner. Simon, she said, and her voice was weird. Turn on the local news, like right now. I pulled it up on my phone. The B-roll was of a very familiar white SUV being loaded onto a flatbed. The headline, Federal agents raid local consultant, seize assets. They were outside Reed's condo. Agents in those official-looking windbreakers were carrying boxes out. My heart? I think it stopped. Reed had been arrested. The reporter said it was for conspiracy to commit tax evasion and wire fraud. The dam broke. My phone rang about an hour later. It was Ben, my lawyer. Simon, I just got a frantic call from Corinne's attorney. They want to talk, now, all of us. Conference call. Put them on, I said. Mr. Simon's last name, the shark lawyer said, his voice suddenly nice. My client is in a very stressful situation. We're hoping we can expedite a final settlement on all outstanding civil matters. What's the matter? I asked, enjoying it. Business trip go bad? Then I heard her. She wasn't on mute. She was wailing. He did this, she shrieked, her voice raw. That soft-spoken, spineless, you did this, Simon, you ruined me. Corinne, I have no idea what you're... The IRS, they were at my house, at the townhouse. They took my computers, they took my car, they took my sunglasses. They said it was assets purchased with undeclared income. I almost laughed. The sunglasses. They froze my account, Simon, she sobbed. All of them. There's nothing. Reed is in jail. He got arrested. They said he tried to wipe his hard drives. You have to call them off. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them you were just a jealous ex. Corinne, I said, and my voice was so calm it scared me. I can't call them off. They're not my dog. They're the IRS. I just gave them the truth. You're the one who's been lying to them for 2 years. Her lawyer cut in. Miss Dryman's last name. Look, this is a criminal matter. It's out of our hands. My client, she's just been informed she is a person of interest. She was interviewed for 6 hours. Anya had texted me during this. A friend of hers works at the federal building. She said Corinne walked into the building looking like a CEO, all high-end suit and clicking heels. She walked out 6 hours later. No sunglasses, no attaché case. Her hair was a mess, her face was puffy and gray, and she was openly sobbing as her lawyer tried to guide her to a taxi. Her hard stance dissolved. It melted under the fluorescent lights of an interrogation room. "What do you want, Simon?" the lawyer asked, his voice flat. "I want everything," I said, and I got it. This is the revenge part. It wasn't about the money, it was about the confession. To avoid me becoming the star witness for the prosecution in her upcoming criminal trial, Corinne signed everything. A full, legal, notarized confession admitting to the embezzlement of $160,000 from the partnership. She agreed to a judgment against her for the full $160K, plus my $40K in legal fees, plus the $12K in business debts I had to personally cover. She had to liquidate everything. The court is garnishing any income she makes until I am paid in full. She sold her car, her designer bags, her jewelry. She had to sign a formal, public apology, which I did post in the window of the now-closed bookstore, to Anya at Flower Power and our other vendors, admitting she defrauded them. She took a plea deal. Tax evasion and conspiracy. She's facing 18 to 24 months in a minimum security facility. Reed is facing more, like 5 to 7 years, for the conspiracy and obstruction of justice. So, I won. But it feels weird. I'm still in my cubicle. The Page and Perch is still gone. I'm still paying off debts. This wasn't a movie. I don't get my old life back. But I got a letter yesterday from the U.S. Department of the Treasury. The IRS recovered the full $160 in back taxes, plus penalties and interest from Corinne and Reed, or what was left of their assets. As per Form 211, I was entitled to my award. A check fell out of the envelope for $24,000. It's not a fortune. It's not FU money. But it's 15% of the hell she put me through. It covers my legal fees. It's a start. She called me soft. She was right. I am soft. But soft is just another word for patient. Soft is what water is, and water can cut through stone. She thought she was a rock. Turns out she was just a brick of cheap concrete, and she just dissolved. She said, "I need my ex at the wedding for closure. Please be mature." I smiled. The next day, I sent his wife a +1 invite. At the rehearsal dinner, closure became chaos. I'm a pretty straightforward guy. I own a company that does historic building restoration. I like old things, solid foundations, and the simple truth of a plumb line. My life is about structure, integrity, and making sure things that are meant to last do. Which is why the conversation my fiancée Emily started 3 weeks before our wedding felt like an earthquake under a house I thought was built to stand for 100 years. We were finalizing the guest list, a task that was already giving me a headache. She was tapping her pen against the paper, a sure sign she was about to say something calculated. "Babe," she started, her voice a little too casual. "There's one more person I'd like to add." I looked up from the seating chart. "We're already over by 10 people, Em." "Who is it?" She took a breath. "It's Daniel." Daniel, her ex-fiancé. The man she had been with for 6 years before me. The man she had almost married. But the man whose ghost had haunted the edges of our entire 4-year relationship. I'd heard his name 1,000 times in 1,000 different stories, always framed as a tragic, beautiful chapter of her past. I put my own pen down and looked at her. "You want to invite your ex-fiancé to our wedding?" "I need him there, Ethan," she said, her voice taking on a tone of patronizing therapy speak. "It's about closure. I need him to see me happy, to see me moving on. It's the final step in closing that door forever. It's for me, and for us. Please just be mature about this. Be mature." 2 of the most manipulative words in the English language. They're a verbal trap, designed to make any objection on my part seem childish and insecure. I looked at her, at the earnest, pleading expression on her face, and I knew this wasn't a request. It was a demand. And it wasn't about closure. It was about something else entirely. It was a power play, a final, public demonstration that her past was still important enough to have a seat at the table of our future. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. An engineer doesn't get mad at a stress test. He just watches the instruments and logs the data. And the data I was logging was telling me that a critical structural failure was imminent. The wedding I had been planning, the future I had been building, it was all a facade. So I smiled. A calm, warm, understanding smile. The one I knew would disarm her completely. "Of course," I said. "I get it. If it's important to you, then it's important to me. Send him an invitation." The relief on her face was so immediate, so absolute, it was almost comical. She gushed about how I was the best, most understanding man in the world. She kissed me, already pulling out her phone, probably to text Daniel the good news. She thought she had handled me, managed my insecurities with her pop psychology nonsense. She had no idea she hadn't just invited her ex to our wedding. She had just handed me the detonator. Update 1. The day after our little closure talk, my operation began. It wasn't an act of rage, it was a project, like any other restoration I'd ever managed. The goal was to expose the rot in the foundation and then bring the whole unstable structure down in a controlled, spectacular demolition. My first step was to learn everything I could about Daniel. I knew the basics from Emily's stories, but I needed more. I hired a private investigator, a discreet professional I'd used before for due diligence on business partners. I gave him Daniel's full name and last known city of residence. I told him I needed a complete workup, his current personal life, his financial situation, everything. While the PI was working, I focused on the wedding itself. I had access to our shared wedding planning website, the one with the guest list, the vendor contracts, everything. I found Daniel's name, which Emily had already added, along with his address. Then I did something that made me smile. I clicked the Add a +1 button next to his name. The PI called me back 2 days later with a full report, and it was more interesting than I could have ever imagined. Daniel was not the heartbroken, pining artist Emily had always painted him as. He was married, had been for 2 years. His wife's name was Sarah. She was a corporate lawyer, and from her social media presence, she appeared to be a sharp, no-nonsense woman who was very, very proud of her husband and their life together. There were hundreds of photos of them, looking happy, successful, and very much in love. There was no mention of Emily. No sign of any lingering heartbreak. The report also contained a crucial detail: Sarah's maiden name. A quick search revealed that her father was a senior partner at one of the biggest law firms in the state, the same law firm that was handling the legal work for a massive downtown redevelopment project my company was the lead contractor on. It was a small world, and it was about to get a whole lot smaller. I went back to the wedding website. In the space for Daniel's +1, I typed in a name, Sarah. I found her office address online and entered it as the mailing address for the invitation. I then clicked Send Invitation. A beautiful, calligraphed invitation, paid for by me, was now on its way to Daniel's unsuspecting wife, inviting her to her husband's ex-fiance's wedding. I imagined the confusion, the questions, the quiet, simmering suspicion that little envelope would generate. It was the first, small crack in their foundation. Next, I focused on our own finances. Like a fool, I had agreed to a joint account for wedding expenses, an account into which I had deposited a substantial 6-figure sum. Emily had contributed a small fraction of that, an amount that was more symbolic than significant. I couldn't just drain the account, that would be too obvious, but I could protect my assets. I spent an afternoon with my own lawyer, a man who had helped me navigate complex construction contracts and who was an expert in finding loopholes. We went through every vendor contract for the wedding. Most of them had a force majeure clause, an act of God, provision that would allow for cancellation without losing the entire deposit. We also found that many of the contracts were with companies that had a professional relationship with my firm. A quiet word from me about a family emergency and the potential for future business was all it took. One by one, I began to dismantle the wedding, not by canceling, but by postponing indefinitely. The venue, the caterer, the florist, they all agreed to hold my deposits as credit for a future, unspecified event. I was turning our wedding into a ghost, an apparition that existed on paper but had no substance. While I was quietly gutting the wedding, Emily was blissfully unaware, completely absorbed in the drama of her own making. She told me Daniel had RSVP'd yes. She was giddy with excitement. She talked about the beautiful, healing conversation she would have with him at the reception. She even had the audacity to ask me if I was okay with it, if I was feeling secure. I just smiled and told her I trusted her completely. The final piece of my plan was the rehearsal dinner. It was scheduled for the Friday night before the wedding, at a private room in an upscale restaurant. The guest list was smaller, just the wedding party and immediate family. Daniel, of course, was on that list, and so was his +1. I needed to make sure Sarah would be there. I needed to ensure the explosion happened in the most contained, most impactful way possible. So I took a risk. I reached out to a junior partner at her father's law firm, a man I had a good working relationship with. I told him I had a very sensitive, personal matter to discuss. We met for a drink. I didn't tell him everything. I just told him that a man named Daniel, the husband of one of their firm's rising stars, was on the guest list for my wedding, and that I had reason to believe his presence was not entirely innocent. I told him I was concerned that there might be some professional blowback if a scandal were to erupt. It was all I needed to say. The man understood the language of corporate risk management. He promised to look into it and ensure all parties were aware of the potential optics. I knew he would go straight to Sarah's father, and I knew her father would go straight to her. I hadn't just invited her to the party. I had made her attendance a matter of professional and familial duty. The stage was set. The actors were all in place. All I had to do was wait for the curtain to rise. Update 2. The night of the rehearsal dinner was a masterclass in controlled chaos. The private room at the restaurant was beautiful, all dark wood and soft lighting. My family was on one side, Emily's on the other. Her parents were in their element, holding court, basking in the glow of a wedding they believed would elevate their social standing. Emily was practically vibrating with a nervous, excited energy. She kept glancing at the door, waiting for her guest of honor to arrive. Daniel arrived first, alone. He was exactly as I had pictured him, handsome in a bland, generic way, with the easy, unearned confidence of a man who has never been told no. He and Emily shared a hug that was a little too long, a little too familiar. I watched from across the room, my expression a perfect mask of polite indifference. Emily brought him over to introduce him to me. "Ethan, this is Daniel," she said, her voice bright and cheerful. "Daniel, this is my fiancé Ethan." We shook hands. His grip was firm, his eyes full of a kind of pitying condescension. He was sizing me up, the man who had replaced him, and he had already found me wanting. "Great to finally meet you, man," he said. "Emily has told me so much about you." "Likewise," I said. "I feel like I know you. It's a brave new world, isn't it? Where fiancés and ex-fiancés can all be one big, happy, mature family." His smile faltered for a fraction of a second. He wasn't used to his presence being acknowledged so directly. He was used to being the secret, the ghost. Then, the door opened again, and Sarah walked in. She was stunning, tall, elegant, dressed in a sharp, impeccably tailored power suit that made her look like she could negotiate a hostile takeover between appetizers. She scanned the room, her eyes sharp and intelligent, and landed on her husband. A slow, cold smile spread across her face. Daniel's blood ran cold. I could literally see the color drain from his face. He looked like a man who had just seen a ghost of his own, the ghost of his comfortable, well-funded future. "Sarah," he stammered. What are you doing here?" "What do you mean, darling?" she said, her voice dripping with ice. "I got an invitation, a +1 to be exact. I wouldn't miss it for the world." She walked over to him and gave him a searing, possessive kiss on the lips, her eyes locked on a stunned and horrified Emily. The atmosphere in the room, which had been buzzing with cheerful conversation, went dead silent. Everyone was staring. Emily looked back and forth between Daniel and Sarah, her carefully constructed fantasy of a tearful, romantic reunion imploding in real time. Sarah turned her attention to Emily, her smile widening. "You must be Emily," she said, extending a hand. "Daniel has told me so much about you." It was a lie, of course. A beautiful, vicious lie. "It's so progressive of you to invite your ex to your wedding. Most women wouldn't have the confidence, or the nerve." The dinner that followed was the most excruciatingly awkward social event I have ever witnessed. Sarah was a master of psychological warfare. She dominated the conversation, telling long, detailed stories about her and Daniel's wonderful life together. She talked about the house they were building, their upcoming trip to Tuscany, their plans to start a family. With every word, she was drawing a thick, black line under a single, brutal fact. Daniel was hers. He was not available for closure. He was not a free agent in Emily's emotional psychodrama. Emily just sat there, crumbling. Her face was pale, her hands were shaking. She could barely eat. Daniel looked like he wanted to crawl under the table and die. He kept shooting desperate, pleading glances at me as if I could somehow save him. I just gave him a small, tight smile and took a sip of my wine. The final blow came during the toasts. My best man gave a heartfelt, funny speech. Emily's maid of honor gave a tearful, rambling one. Then Sarah stood up, her wine glass in her hand. "I'd like to propose a toast," she began, her voice ringing with a false, cheerful sincerity. "To the happy couple. Emily, it takes a special kind of woman to maintain such a powerful connection to her past. And Ethan?" she said, turning to me, her eyes glinting with a newfound sense of alliance. "It takes a very, very special kind of man to be so wonderfully accommodating. May you both get exactly what you deserve." The toast landed like a lead balloon in the silent room. After that, the party fell apart. Emily, on the verge of a full-blown meltdown, made a hasty excuse and practically ran out of the restaurant, her parents trailing behind her, their faces a mixture of confusion and fury. Daniel, after a hissed, whispered argument with his wife, followed them out. I was left sitting at a table with my family and a very smug-looking Sarah. She walked over to my chair, leaned down, and spoke in a low voice that only I could hear. "Thank you," she said. "You have no idea how long I've suspected something was going on. That little invitation was the proof I needed." "You're welcome," I said. "I have a feeling you and I will have a lot to talk about in the coming weeks." She just smiled, a real genuine smile this time. "I have a feeling you're right." Final update. It's been a year. There was no wedding, of course. The day after the rehearsal dinner from hell, Emily and her parents showed up at my house, demanding answers. It was a short conversation. I had my lawyer Ben there with me. I laid out the facts. I told them I knew her request to have Daniel at the wedding was a lie, a final attempt to either win him back or to keep him as a satellite in her emotional orbit forever. I told them the wedding was canceled and that our relationship was over. Her mother, predictably, launched into a tirade about the money they had spent, the humiliation, the scandal. Ben calmly informed her that most of the major vendors had been postponed and that the financial losses were minimal. He also reminded her that Emily's actions were the sole cause of the cancellation, and that any attempt to sue me would result in a very public and very embarrassing discovery process. The breakup was messy but swift. Emily, deprived of the wedding that was supposed to be the crowning achievement of her life, had a complete and total meltdown. Her parents, more concerned with their own social standing than their daughter's emotional state, were furious with her for causing such a public scene. Daniel and Sarah's story had its own dramatic conclusion. Sarah, armed with the knowledge of her husband's planned infidelity, filed for divorce. Her father's law firm, eager to avoid any association with a messy public scandal, put its full weight behind her. Daniel, faced with the prospect of a legal battle against a corporate Goliath, was forced to agree to a settlement that was, by all accounts, financially devastating for him. He lost the house, the car, and a significant portion of his assets. The last I heard, he's living in a small, rented apartment and has completely fallen out of the high-powered social circle his wife had provided him. As for me, I executed the final phase of my plan. The credits I had with the wedding venue, the caterer, and the florist were not going to go to waste. 2 months after the breakup, I hosted an event. It was a fundraiser for a local charity that supports historic preservation, a cause I'm passionate about. I invited every single person who had been on our original wedding guest list. The event was a huge success. We raised over $100,000 for the charity, and I made a point of publicly thanking my new business partner and the co-chair of the event, Sarah. She and I had, in fact, had a lot to talk about. We discovered a shared passion for business, for strategy, and for a no-nonsense approach to life. After her divorce was finalized, we decided to go into business together, launching a consulting firm that advises on complex legal and logistical challenges in the construction and real estate industries. Our firm is now one of the most successful in the city. We are partners, colleagues, and the best of friends. Nothing more, but that is more than enough. Emily, I've heard, is still living with her parents. She's not dating anyone. Her reputation as a drama queen and a manipulator has made her radioactive in our old social circle. She has, in the end, been left with the one thing she claimed she wanted: closure. The door to her past and to her future has been slammed shut, and she has no one to blame but herself. My revenge wasn't about a single night of chaos. It was about building a better, stronger structure on the ruins of a failed one. And that, I've found, is the most lasting victory of all. My wife said, "You're sleeping in the guest room until you apologize." I just said, "All right." 3 weeks later, she walked in and found my side of the closet empty and divorce papers on the desk. The argument that ended my marriage wasn't a big, explosive fight. It was a quiet, stupid disagreement over a piece of furniture. A ridiculously expensive, ugly armchair that my wife Jenna had bought without consulting me. It was delivered on a Tuesday. A monstrous thing upholstered in a fabric that looked like a sick parrot. It clashed with everything in our living room, a room I had meticulously designed and furnished myself. I own a small firm that restores and sells mid-century modern furniture. My home is my showroom, my sanctuary. Every piece in it is something I've personally sourced, restored, or built with my own hands. That chair was an insult to everything I do. When I got home from my workshop and saw it squatting in the corner of our living room, I just stopped and stared. "What is that?" I asked. Jenna walked in from the kitchen, a triumphant smile on her face. "It's the new armchair. Isn't it fabulous? I saw it in a magazine and just had to have it." "It's hideous, Jenna," I said, maybe a little too bluntly, "and it doesn't go with anything in this room. Where did you even get it?" Her smile vanished, replaced by that familiar, tight-lipped expression of indignation. "It's a designer piece. It cost $4,000, and I don't appreciate you insulting my taste in my own home." "Our home," I corrected her, "and the $4,000 came out of our joint account, which I am the sole contributor to, in case you'd forgotten." That was it. The fuse was lit. She launched into her usual tirade. How I was a controlling, unsupportive husband. How I didn't appreciate her efforts to make our house a home. How my obsession with my old, dusty furniture was suffocating her. It was the same script she'd been using for years, a script designed to make me feel guilty and eventually give in, just to have some peace. But this time, I didn't give in. I stood my ground. I told her the chair was a monstrosity and that it was going back. The argument escalated, a pointless, circular battle of wills that ended with her delivering an ultimatum, her voice shaking with rage. "Fine," she hissed. "If you hate my taste so much, if you can't even support one single decision I make for this house, then you don't have to share a room with me. You're sleeping in the guest room until you apologize, and until you learn to appreciate me." She stood there, arms crossed, expecting me to back down, to plead, to start the familiar cycle of apology and appeasement. But something inside me, something that had been worn down and eroded by years of these little power plays, just went quiet. I looked at her, at the ugly chair, at the beautiful room she had just violated with her careless entitlement, and I felt nothing but a profound sense of exhaustion. I just nodded. "All right," I said. The simple, quiet agreement seemed to throw her off more than any argument would have. She stared at me, waiting for the rest. But there was nothing else. I walked past her, went to our bedroom, and gathered my pillows and a blanket. I walked to the guest room at the other end of the house and closed the door. She thought she was punishing me. She thought she was putting me in a timeout, like a naughty child. She had no idea she hadn't just banished me to another room. She had given me the space, the silence, and the clarity I needed to finally leave the prison our marriage had become. Update 1. The first few days of my exile were, to be honest, blissful. The guest room was sparse, but it was quiet. For the first time in years, I slept through the night without the constant, low-grade anxiety of having her next to me. I woke up each morning, went to my workshop, and came home to my own quiet corner of the house. We were two ghosts haunting the same space, communicating only through the bare minimum of polite, icy necessities. Jenna, for her part, seemed to be enjoying her victory. She was acting like a triumphant queen, magnanimously allowing me to continue living under her roof as long as I followed the rules of my punishment. She would have her friends over, and I could hear their loud, cackling laughter from the other end of the house. I knew they were talking about me, about my childishness, about how Jenna had finally put her foot down. She was waiting for me to break, to come crawling back with an apology and a promise to love her hideous new chair. She was so confident in her power over me, so certain of my eventual submission, that she didn't notice what was really happening. I wasn't stewing in resentment. I was planning. The guest room became my command center. I started my exit strategy, not with a lawyer, but with a quiet, methodical untangling of our lives. The first thread I pulled was financial. For our entire 10-year marriage, I had been the sole earner. Jenna hadn't worked a day since we were married. It was a choice we had made together, or so I thought. I had been happy to provide for her, to give her the comfortable, easy life she wanted. But that arrangement was built on a foundation of love and respect, a foundation that had clearly crumbled. I opened a new set of bank accounts at a different bank. I had my company's accounting department reroute my salary. I started moving my personal savings, assets I had from before our marriage, into these new firewalled accounts. I also hired a forensic accountant, a discreet professional who began a deep dive into our joint finances. I had a suspicion that Jenna's spending was far more reckless than I knew, and I needed a full accounting of the damage before I made my next move. The second thread was logistical. I started looking for a new place to live. Not an apartment, but a house. A place with a large workshop, a place that was entirely mine, a place where no one could tell me what furniture I was allowed to have. I spent my lunch breaks and evenings scrolling through real estate listings, making quiet calls to agents, and scheduling secret viewings. The third, and most critical, thread was personal. I started reconnecting with my own life, a life I had let atrophy over years of trying to appease Jenna. I called my brother, who I hadn't seen in months because Jenna found his wife annoying. I had dinner with old college friends, the ones Jenna had dismissed as boring. I started spending more time at my workshop in the evenings, not just working, but rediscovering my passion for my craft, a passion Jenna had always treated as a messy, inconvenient hobby. For 3 weeks, I lived this double life. In the house, I was the quiet, chastened husband, sleeping in the guest room, eating my meals alone, politely coexisting with the woman who thought she was punishing me. Outside the house, I was a man systematically building a new future, a future that did not include her. The turning point came at the end of the 3rd week. The forensic accountant sent me his final report. It was worse than I had imagined. Jenna hadn't just been buying expensive furniture. She had been bleeding us dry. There were thousands of dollars in credit card debt I knew nothing about, on cards she had opened in her name, but which were being paid from our joint account. There were regular, substantial payments to her sister, a woman who was supposedly a successful artist but who was, in reality, being subsidized by my income. But the worst was a series of large, unexplained cash withdrawals over the past year, totaling over $50,000. The accountant had no idea where the cash had gone, but I had a suspicion. Her ex-boyfriend, a charismatic deadbeat named Ryan, had recently resurfaced on social media, bragging about a new sports car and a trip to South America. That report was the final piece of the puzzle. My quiet, methodical exit strategy was no longer enough. This wasn't just a matter of disrespect anymore. This was a matter of profound, long-term financial betrayal. It was time to accelerate the demolition. Update 2. The day I found the perfect house was the day I knew there was no turning back. It was an old, beautifully maintained mid-century modern on a few acres of land just outside the city, with a massive detached workshop that was bigger than my entire current house. I made an offer that day, a cash offer, using the funds I had already secured in my new accounts. With a new home secured and the accountant's report in hand, I was ready to pull the final threads. I spent the next few days in a whirlwind of quiet, focused activity. I arranged for movers, not to my old house, but to my workshop, where I had already started moving some of my smaller, more personal pieces of furniture. I went through our house, room by room, with a small roll of blue painter's tape. Every piece of furniture, every lamp, every rug that I had bought, built, or restored with my own hands, I marked with a small blue X. By the time I was done, the house looked like a crime scene. The living room, the dining room, my office, they were all covered in blue X's. The only things left unmarked were the contents of her closet, the kitchen supplies, and that one, monstrously ugly parrot green armchair. The day before the movers were scheduled to arrive, I took the final step. I sat down at the desk in the guest room, the same desk where I had planned my escape, and I filled out the divorce papers my lawyer had prepared. I cited irreconcilable differences and attached a summary of the forensic accountant's report as an exhibit. The next morning, I was up before dawn. The moving truck arrived at 7 a.m. I had instructed them to be as quiet as possible. For 2 hours, my crew of hand-picked trusted movers systematically emptied the house of every item marked with a blue X. My entire life, my entire history was packed into that truck. The last thing to be moved was the contents of my side of the master bedroom closet. I went into the room we had once shared. Jenna was still asleep, a peaceful, oblivious look on her face. I quietly gathered my clothes, my shoes, my personal effects, leaving my side of the closet and my drawers completely bare. Before I left, I placed 2 things on the polished surface of the antique desk in the corner of the room, a desk I had spent a month restoring. The first was the set of keys to the house. The second was the stack of divorce papers, with the accountant's report placed neatly on top. I walked out of that house and didn't look back. I got in my car and followed the moving truck to my new life, leaving her to wake up in a home that had been surgically hollowed out, a museum of her own bad choices. The first call came at 9:17 a.m. She must have finally woken up and realized what had happened. I let it go to voicemail. The message was a frantic, confused plea. "Michael? Where are you? Where is all our furniture? What is going on?" The second call came a few minutes later, after she had undoubtedly found the papers on the desk. This one was not confused. It was pure, unfiltered rage. She screamed, she cried, she threatened. She called me every name in the book. I listened to the message with a strange sense of detachment, then deleted it. Then came the calls from her family, that from her friends. I ignored them all. I had made my statement. There was nothing left to say. Final update. The 3 weeks she had banished me to the guest room were the most productive of my life. The year that has followed has been the most peaceful. The divorce was, as expected, a nasty, brutal affair. But it was a battle I was completely prepared for. Jenna, faced with the undeniable evidence of her financial infidelity, tried to pivot. Her lawyer argued for massive alimony, claiming she had been a devoted homemaker who had sacrificed her own career for mine. My lawyer countered with the forensic accountant's report, which painted a very different picture. It showed a woman who had treated our marriage not as a partnership, but as a personal slush fund. The $50,000 in cash withdrawals became the centerpiece of the legal battle. She refused to say where the money had gone, claiming it was for personal expenses. But my lawyer, armed with the information I had given him about her ex-boyfriend, subpoenaed his travel records and bank statements. The timeline matched perfectly. The day after each large cash withdrawal, her ex had made a significant purchase: a down payment on a car, a first-class flight to Brazil, a deposit on a luxury apartment. The evidence was circumstantial, but it was incredibly compelling. In the end, the judge was not impressed with Jenna's case. She was awarded a small, temporary alimony for 1 year, an amount that was just enough to cover the basics, a far cry from the lifetime of leisure she had expected. She was also held responsible for all of the secret credit card debt she had accumulated. The house, which was in my name, was mine to keep, but I didn't want it. It was tainted. I sold it and used the proceeds to invest in my new workshop. The last I heard, Jenna is living in a small rented apartment with her sister. Her parents, who were horrified by the revelations of her financial deceit, have reportedly cut her off. She had to get a job, a real one, as an administrative assistant at a law firm. She is living a life she never planned for, a life where her choices have real, tangible consequences. A few months ago, I was at a high-end furniture auction, bidding on a rare Eames chair. I was with my new partner, a woman named Sarah, who is an art curator and who shares my passion for beautiful, well-made things. As I was examining the piece, I looked up and saw her, Jenna. She was there with a man, an older, wealthy-looking man who was ignoring her, his attention focused on the auctioneer. She was wearing a dress I didn't recognize, and she had a hard, desperate look in her eyes. She was playing the same game, just with a different player. She saw me. She saw me with Sarah, laughing and happy. She saw me looking at a piece of furniture with a genuine, passionate interest. She saw the life she had once had, the life she had disdained and taken for granted. She just stared for a moment, her face a mask of bitter regret, and then she turned and walked away. The funny thing is, I do have her to thank for one thing. Those 3 weeks in the guest room were a gift. She thought she was punishing me, but she was just giving me a head start on my new life, and I have never looked back.